Hey guys and welcome back to my channel. This is part 3 of What If Naruto Had the Powers of Sonic the Hedgehog and Got a Harem. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description. Music. Mushroom Hill, Act 1, Sonic and Knuckles. After watching the Death Egg fall down somewhere else, and the platform they were on landing elsewhere as well, Naruto and the humanized Tails were falling through the trees, screaming before landing on a giant mushroom. They looked at each other before the mushroom bounced them into another mushroom as they screamed in surprise. The mushroom bounced them in the air before they landed on the ground. Oh man, that was crazy. Naruto cheered. Tails laughed as he clapped his hands. No kidding. It was kind of scary at first, but when we bounced on those mushrooms it was fun. He looks around the new location they were in. A forest that's filled to the brim with giant mushrooms. Wow tilde. Naruto said in awe as he looks at the giant mushrooms. He walks ahead of the path with Tails flying ahead of him as he jumped on one of the mushrooms. I never seen so many large mushrooms before. Yeah, Tails agreed as he bounced off the mushroom. This must be some sort of mushroom valley or something. More like Mushroom Hill to me. Naruto stated. That name actually fits. Tails said happily as Naruto chuckled sheepishly. If he was completely honest with himself, the name of this place just suddenly popped into his head. Ever since coming here, he's been knowing the names of the location of the island. Like each time he enters a new place, he would automatically know its name. He noticed they were walking to a cliff. He looks down curiously before his eyes widen. Hold up. Naruto grabbed a surprised Tails by his twin tails, stopping him from walking and pulled him down with him. What is it? Tails asked. Shish. Naruto hushed him. He points down to the cliff. They looked down and saw Knuckles looking around. He runs ahead before he jumps on a switch that closed a door. He nods to himself and runs off somewhere. What was that about? Tails asked. I don't know, but it seems that old Knucklehead is hiding something. A fox-like smirk appears on Naruto's face. Let's check it out. It's probably something embarrassing. The duo jumped off the cliff, with Naruto landing on the switch. The door opened up once more and the two entered. Their eyes widened at what they saw. Is that a giant ring? Tails asked. I think so. Naruto trailed off, an eyebrow raised in confusion. But why is it flashing in multiple colors? Matter of fact, why is it even here? We got all the Chaos Emeralds. Let's check it out, Tails said. The two jumped inside the giant ring as it disappeared. Music. Hidden Palace Zone, Sonic and Knuckles. You know how you enter a giant ring and it automatically takes you to a secret zone. Well, that flashy giant ring didn't take our heroes to the secret zone. Instead, in the flash of an orange light, they found themselves standing in front of an emerald shrine. Huh? Naruto and Tails asked as they looked around, before something caught Tails' attention. Hey look. Naruto looks to Tails and saw him pointing at something before he looks up also and his jaw dropped in comical shock. What the hell? Is that a giant Chaos Emerald? There above their heads is giant green Chaos Emerald. Around the large emerald were empty pedestals. Amazing. This must be the Master Emerald Knuckles was talking about. Tails said in awe. I think you're right, Tails. Naruto muttered, staring at the emerald in a daze. Where are we? Is this a secret zone? Tails asked. No. Naruto said as images of Sonic entering this place flashed in his head. This place is. He felt the Chaos Emeralds leave his person, much to his and Tails' surprise. They watched as the emeralds began to circle in place before they split off. The emeralds landed on the empty pedestals in a flash of orange light. What just happened to the emeralds? Tails asked, eyes widened. When the Chaos Emeralds landed on the pedestals, they grew larger and were completely colorless. They evolved. Naruto said in a trance as more images of Sonic in this place flashed in his head. An excited smile soon appears on his face. The Chaos Emeralds evolved and became Super Emeralds. Super Emeralds. So cool tilde. Tails' eyes shined like stars as he looks at the newly evolved emeralds. It must have been the Master Emerald that triggered their evolution. But looking at them now, it looks like the Super Emeralds needs to have power. Then let's power them up. Naruto grins as he does his signature hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 6 clones appears and the original grabs Tails. Alright guys. Let's do it to it. Yes sir. Everyone, including Tails, saluted. They all jumped on each individual Super Emeralds and they vanished in a flash of light. Minutes later, small white stars started to gather to each of the Super Emeralds. As they touched them, each emerald begins to light up in their original colors. The Master Emerald itself begins to glow, unknowingly triggering an awesome transformation between Naruto, Tails and Knuckles. Mushroom Hill Zone. Music. Mushroom Hill Zone, Act 1, Sonic and Knuckles. Naruto and Tails exited the giant ring and were running out through the mushroom-filled forest. Awesome. Naruto cheered as he did a small victory jump. We did it. Yeah, we charged up all of the super emeralds. Tails cheered also. We're the ultimate team. Damn straight little dude, Naruto said in excitement. They entered a cave and Naruto jumped from wall to reach the higher level and doing a spin dash to destroy a badnik, while Tails flew behind him to catch up, exiting the cave. The two were now jumping on the giant mushrooms as they reached a higher platform before jumping on a yellow spring, sending them flying through the air. Once they saw they were going to a slope, they got into their spin ball. They rolled down the slope, going through a loop, and got launched in the air. Once they landed, they continued to run ahead. They saw a pole up ahead as they grabbed it and spun around in place before going back the same way, this time going to a lower level. They grabbed a bunch of rings and jumped out of the way to avoid the spikes. They went through a loop again and entered an area that was filled with tall trees. Naruto noticed a shadow was looming over them. He looks up and his eyes widened as he saw something was thrown at them. His eyes widened as he saw it was 3 golden axes. Holy shit! Naruto yells as he stops running and held his hands out, grabbing the axes with his telekinesis. Whoa! Tails jumped in surprise at seeing the axes. Where did those come from? Him, Naruto said as he pointed in the air. They saw the super badnik, Heihu, floating down towards them holding an axe. Oh great! A badnik with an axe to grind. Heihu swung his axe at Naruto, only for him to roll out of the way. Hey, watch where you're swinging that thing, Tin Man. Heihu then launched a chunk of woods at Naruto. Cause you know what they say, right? Naruto asked as he spin dashed through the woods and got around Heihu. What goes around? His hands was covered in a cyan aura. Comes around. He sent a wave of telekinesis that cut Heihu in half and explode upon impact. Yeah, you sure showed him who's boss, Naruto. Tails cheered. Please hold your applause, Naruto said, waving his hand up and down. He runs ahead with Tails following after him. I feel like this getting easier and easier by the minute. We are in the zone today, Tails. Now let's just hope nothing stops. Music. Knuckles theme, Sonic and Knuckles. Naruto stops talking as he and Tails saw something blocking their way. They also heard chuckling coming from the blocked wall. The two immediately knew who it was behind the chuckling. Knuckles, come out here so I can blow you away personally for being a jackass. Naruto called out. The only ones who are gonna get blown away are you two clowns. Knuckles' voice was heard, literally. The duo heard a clicking sound and felt the wind blowing underneath them. Huh? Tails asked. His eyes widened as he felt the wind getting stronger and stronger, making him grip the ground along with Naruto, who only had an annoyed expression. Oh great. The wind got so strong they lost their grips and were blown upwards. Tails was screaming comically while Naruto just remained neutral. Once they were high enough, the wind suddenly died down and two fell on their feet. Music. Mushroom Hill Zone, Act 2, Sonic and Knuckles. What the hell? Naruto asked, taking a look around. They were still in Mushroom Hill, but something was different. All of the leaves were orange and the mushrooms were blue. Orange leaves? Tails asked. It's fall. But that's impossible. We're in the beginning of summer. This has Eggman written all over it, Naruto said as he looked at the falling leaves. He walks forward, making Tails follow after him. It does make sense, Tails said, looking thoughtful. He must have made a machine to control the seasons. But why? Who knows? Naruto shrugs. Probably just to mess with us. Still, all the same, we're gonna find it and destroy it. Come on. The two instantly ran off, going down a slope and a loop, and were sent flying into the air. They destroyed a few badnik that spotted them and gathered some rings. They jumped on a mushroom and landed on a platform, which had a box of gold rings. Cool. Naruto spin jumps it, collecting the rings. The two fell down and landed on a large vine as they grind it. Yahoo! Tails cheered. Yeah, Naruto shouted happily. The two jumped off the large vine and landed on a mushroom platform. They quickly jumped off it once they felt it shake and it fell. They entered a mini cave where they saw a bunch of gold rings in circular motion. They gathered the rings and exited the cave. They quickly noticed the season has once again changed. The season changed? Tails asked as he looked back at the cave they exited. Which season is this? Naruto asked curiously. Everything looked gray and the mushrooms were green. When we first came here, it was summer. Tails explained. The season we just left was autumn, so this must be winter. Winter. Naruto released a breath and he could see it. Something tells me we might be getting close to Eggman's machine. I can feel it. Tails' fox ears twitched. Right. In fact, we're so close, I can hear it. His ears twitched again. I think I hear it too, Naruto said in a surprised tone. Wow. Guess great minds think a lot, huh? Tails smiled. No, I mean I really hear it. Listen, Naruto told him. They were quiet as they listened and sure enough they did hear something. It was an engine running. Eggman's machine, Naruto and Tails said at the same time. They both ran off, going through a loop, before heading down a slope. They jumped on a platform and destroyed the badniks that was there. The two jumped on a yellow spring as they soared across the sky. They did a spin dash and landed back on the ground. They got trapped on some vines from the ground. What the? Naruto was about to swear before he saw two butterdroids coming to them. He grabs the using his ESP and smashed them. He grabs Tails' hand and ran forwards to get out the sticky vine. They got out and continued on to their destination. They were getting closer now. They could hear the machine and it was coming from above them. They looked up and saw something which made Naruto raise a brow. What is that? That's a pendulum, Tails replied. Pendulum? What's it for? Naruto asked. Looks like our way of going up, Tails said, looking up and seeing there's upper level where the machine is located. Meh, let's take the easy way up. Naruto grabs Tails and flies up, going through a tunnel and got out of it, prompting Naruto to stop using his ESP on them. The two continued to follow the path before their eyes widen as they saw the very device they were looking for. Booyah, Naruto and Tails said happily. They both spin jumps the weather machine and destroyed it, making the season return to summer once again. Before they could celebrate, they felt and heard the ground rumbling below them. Music. Boss Sonic and Knuckles. Oh ho 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 ho. Dr. Nega came out of the ground, his egg mobile now heavily armored and with jets on it. Surprise. Dr. Nega. Tails glared. Not that surprised, Naruto said. He does a homing attack on the egg mobile. How dare you do that to my jet mobile? Dr. Nega flew backwards, prompting Naruto and Tails to chase after him. Trying to run away. I won't let you, Dr. Negi. Naruto smirks as he does a spin attack on the jet mobile. Stop that. The jet mobile boosted backwards again. But that only caused the duo to run faster after him. Tails saw something up ahead and it made his eyes widen frantically. Incoming Naruto. Naruto looks at the path before his eyes widen as well. He saw spiked ball hurdles ahead of them. Whoa. The two quickly jumped the hurdles while also ducking them. Ha 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 ha. Dr. Nega laughed at them. Try and get me as you avoid them. So that's his game, huh? He's trying to use the hurdles to get us. Naruto thought to himself. He smirks to himself. Well, two can play that game. Grab on Tails. He reached his hand out to Tails, who instantly grabbed it. He used his ESP to fly in the air, just above the jet mobile. What? That's cheating, Dr. Nega exclaimed. Again, you have no room to talk about cheating. I told you that back at Stardust Speedway. Naruto said as a smirk appears on his face. Besides, we want to get a better view of the fireworks. Dr. Nega raised a brow while Tails tilted his head to the side in confusion. What fireworks? The mad scientist asked. Naruto grins evilly at him, which made the scientist nervous all of a sudden. He began to sniff something in the air. What's that smell? If he didn't know any better, he would say it smells like a piece of paper was burning. So then what was making that whistling sound that sounds like a dynamite, coming from underneath his? The mustache on Dr. Nega's face dropped as his face went comically pale. Oh no. Oh yes. Boom. Music end. A large explosion came from underneath the jet mobile, which in turn made multiple explosions around it as Dr. Nega screams comically. The jet mobile then crashed into a tree, while Naruto and Tails were running on the ground as they entered said tree through a hole and exited. Yeah, that was awesome, Tails said happily. He turns to Naruto, who jumped on a capsule that held the captured animals, releasing them from their prison as they ran off. When did you put your tag bombs on Dr. Eggman? Simple little buddy, Naruto said in a cocky manner as he rubbed his finger under his nose. When I used my ESP to carry us, I also took and placed them underneath him when he wasn't paying attention. A flicky landed on Naruto's shoulder and chirps happily at them, making him turn to it slightly while Tails giggled in amusement. The three then heard something coming from the sky, which scared the flicky as it flew away. What the hell? Naruto asked in surprise. A large shadow looms over them, making them up and saw a flying battleship, with a badnik piloting it. He groans as he hung his head. Oh come on. He's got another one of those airships. Their eyes widened as they heard Dr. Nega's laughter. They looked up and saw him in his regular egg mobile flying above them. How do you like my flying battery, boys? Nega asked as he enters the airship through a secret hatch door as it closed behind him. Oh no you don't, Naruto said as he and Tails quickly flew after him, before the airship gets further up to the clouds. Naruto honestly looked impressed at the flying battery. Sheesh, first the wing fortress and now this. Well, it is slightly bigger, but I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Tails narrowed his eyes in thought as he examined the aircraft. Hey, doesn't this warship seem familiar? What do you mean? Naruto asked. Don't you remember when Angel Island was set on fire and we were being chased by a warship that dropped bombs on us? Tails asked back. Now that you mention it. Naruto looks down for a moment before memories of that event crossed his mind. He was right. When they running across the jungle, they were being chased by an airship. But then that airship just left after they went through some trees, where Eggman suddenly appeared. A blank look appeared on Naruto's face as he looks at the flying battery. It looked exactly like the same warship that bombed them despite the color change from it being green and now metallic gray. Then again, the jungle was covered in flames which changed the color of the environment and the warship which made it look green. There's no doubt about it. The flying battery is that very same warship that dropped the bombs on them. Naruto and Tails landed on the foothold of the warship, the blank look still present on Naruto's face. Tails. Yeah. I'm going to enjoy destroying this airship. Naruto said, a dangerous glint in his eye as a savage grin appears on his face and he chuckled darkly which made his little partner to sweat drop nervously. Let's go. Music. Flying Battery Zone, Act 1, Sonic and Knuckles. Naruto and Tails did a spin charge before spin dashing their way inside the flying battery. Once they did, they were immediately assaulted by a bunch of badniks that were waiting for them, though Naruto put an end to them quickly. As they continued their way throughout the gigantic blimp, they noticed a bunch of capsules were around. But whenever they jumped on them, the capsules didn't have any animal inside. In fact, half were used as springs while the other half released some badniks as though they were a trap. They also had to avoid some flame jets which nearly cooked Naruto's butt for a brief moment. The flame jets also acted as well which they learned when they stood on it for some time which put a lot of pressure on it. They even acted as hidden switches. After going through that, they found themselves outside the flying battery where they had to avoid large propeller wings and the missiles that were sent their way. But Naruto used those missiles as an advantage as he grabbed them using his ESP made an entrance back inside the flying battery. They went through a bunch of rotating gates which Naruto and Tails used to go down a level or across a large gap. They went back outside, this time below the giant flying fortress. They jumped across many platforms before going through the rotating machines once more. They landed on a foothold and spin dashed upwards, heading back inside before going through a loop and used a red spring to jump on a platform. However, Naruto used his chakra to jump off the platform and land on the wall, running up it, with Tails flying in front of him. When they made it up top, they saw another capsule, by itself. The two looked at each other with raised brows. Okay, something was not right with this. Even though this blimp is full of those fake, empty capsules, just seeing one by itself, all alone, with no other dangerous hazards near it, just told them that something was off with this one. Naruto made a shadow clone appear next to him. Check that capsule out. Naruto ordered the clone. Got it. The two watched as clone Naruto walked up to the capsule, examining it. Clone Naruto even kicked it a bunch of times, a suspicious expression on his face. He looks up at the switch on top before jumps and landed on it. Music. Sub-boss, Sonic and Knuckles. The moment he landed, two huge ball and chain arms came out from its sides, shocking the clone and the onlookers. Naruto and Tails even saw the capsule had eyes and was glaring up at clone Naruto. What the hell? Clone Naruto shouted in surprise. He heard chain moving behind him and looks up to see the huge ball heading to him. Ah crap. The clone got destroyed by the huge ball but at the same the capsule, no capsule damaged itself, which Tails quickly noticed. Somehow I knew that was gonna happen. Naruto said, crossing his arms. But I didn't think this thing was going to be a sub-boss. It looks like we can't damage it head on. Tails told him. Which means we have to make it. The eyes of the capsule looked their way before its eyes flashed. It raised its ball and slams it their way with Tails jumping away with a scream while Naruto casually avoided it with his hands behind his back. The ball retreated back to where it belonged. Attack itself? Naruto asked. Tails nodded his head. PFF'd. This'll be over in a second. He jumps on top of the switch, the capsule's eyes locked on him. He saw the ball on the right getting ready to hit him. He smirks as he dashed upwards, making the ball hit the switch. He held his hand out and used his ESP to hold the spiked ball in place. He smirks as he forced the ball up and hit the switch multiple times, making Gapsul's eyes pop out in comical pain. Ha ha ha. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Naruto laughed along with Tails. A large vein appeared on Gapsul's as it glared at Naruto comically with tears swelling in its eyes. It used its right side to try and get hit at Naruto, which is what he wanted. The moment Naruto saw the ball heading towards, he stepped to the side while releasing his hold on the other ball, causing both of them to slam into Gapsul, making its eyes go wide in shock. Music ends. Mini explosions erupted from Gapsul as the ball and chain arms fell off it. Before it exploded into pieces. Naruto and Tails were then surprised when they saw animals escape the capsule. Huh, who knew there were animals inside? Naruto said as he landed next to Tails. Well, it was a capsule, and a super badnik. Tails pointed out as Naruto shrugs. In any case, let's find Dr. Mustache and try to blow this airship out of the sky. Naruto said. Music. Flying Battery Zone, Act 2, Sonic and Knuckles. The duo went off once again to find Dr. Nega in this aircraft. They went up the wall and find the going up the rotating machines before spin dashing up on the ceiling and landed on the floor. They saw some mouse badniks and destroyed them. They jumped on some hangers which brought them downwards before they jumped and spin dashed across the way. They avoided many hazards that were in their way, which included spikes on the floor and walls. Since there was so many passageways inside this blimp, Naruto decided which way would get them closer to Dr. Nega, with Tails following him. The only reason why Naruto knows where he's going because he's seen flashes of Sonic running through this place and right now he's just going along with it. They found some rotating drills going down and used the screws as an elevator. When they reached the bottom, they quickly left to avoid getting squished like a bug. They avoided some flame jets and along with the chained metal platforms that has spikes on their bottoms. They destroyed the badniks in their way and avoided more hazards. They then got another drill, this one taking them upwards. They got off and did a spin dash while also touching a dash pad, making them go faster as they went through the rotating machines and landed on the foothold on top of it. They ran ahead and saw Dr. Nega standing in front of a computer. Found ya doc. Naruto grins as he does a homing attack only for negative to grin as he pushed a button and a barrier appeared. It ricocheted Naruto back on the floor. Again with this barrier. Naruto asked raising a brow and a smirk present on his face. Come on doc, I expected you to learn your lesson from last time you did this. Oh but I did. Dr. Nega pushed a button and a barrier appeared behind them, blocking the entrance which they came from. He blocked us. Tails exclaimed. So how are you going to do this barrier thing this time? Naruto asked, casually leaning on the barrier in front of Nega. He heard noises coming from above him, making him and Tails look up in confusion. Oh no Tilda, they said at the same time as their eyes widened. They gave out screams before diving out of the way as a laser fired at them, shaking the whole fortress. Hey, watch where you're pointing the thing. Naruto exclaims as he turns to glare at Dr. Nega. His eyes widen as the laser cannon moved along the roof to where he and Tails are at. I'm pointing at you. Dr. Nega laughed as he continued to push the button that fired the laser. The two split into as the cannon fired once again. It was then Tails noticed the other barrier that blocked their entrance had moved a little closer than where it was before. He looks up at the laser cannon that was following Naruto. Once it fired and the flying battery shook again, the barrier got closer. Naruto. The barrier over here is moving closer to us. Tails told Naruto, much to his disbelief. If this keeps up we won't have any room to avoid the laser. Say what? Dr. Nega laughed once again victoriously. That's right Tails. And since you can't attack my laser eye directly, you both are doomed to be vaporized. Naruto and Tails ran around in random directions, avoiding the laser cannon as it tried to follow their movements. Once it was fully charged and was ready to fire, Naruto took out a kunai and threw it at the laser cannon, making electricity dance around it. It fired once more, this time with different results. The laser cannon didn't stop and because of it, the whole warship kept shaking until loud explosions was heard. The explosion damaged the computer in front of Dr. Nega, much to his comical shock while the laser cannon exploded as well ceasing it to fire any more laser. Wah, I'm outta here. Dr. Nega cried out as he ran off just as the barriers went off. Hey, get back here. Naruto and Tails chased after him. They stopped as the flying battery continued to rumble and break apart. Whoa, we better get out of here quick. Tails exclaimed. Yeah, Naruto agreed. The two started their escape as they avoided many objects that fell to them. They also had to avoid getting crushed due to the ship literally falling apart on them. Once they finally escaped they were out in the open, still on the foothold. That was close. Tails said as Naruto smiled a little bit. At least we took down the flying battery. Naruto looks around the area. We're out in the open and there's sign of Eggman. Now, where the hell is he? Here. Music. Boss, Sonic and Knuckles. Naruto and Tails looked up and screamed before moving out of the way as something latched on the foothold. They looked up and their eyes widened. Dr. Nega is in a lanky armed machine that has spikes covering both arms. He glares comically at the two of them, fire coming out of his mouth. And you brought me a new aircraft. Charge hang mobile. He charged at them while his machine spun around in place before hiding below them. Heads up. Naruto and Tails quickly flew over to the other side of the foothold before Dr. Nega could get back up. But then Naruto screamed in comical pain as his butt got caught by a flamethrower which made him fall and caused Tails to cry out in shock. He grabbed his adoptive brother by the foot and quickly landed. Wah! Naruto shot up and frantically patted his burning butt as he ran back and forth. My butt is on fire. My butt is on fire. Help. Biwa. Tails quickly went to the rescue as he too patted Naruto's butt. Dr. Nega, who moved his mobile out in the open, watched the comical scene as he laughed and pointed at Naruto. In fact, He was laughing so much he fell back in his chair, shaking his legs wildly. After a couple of seconds, the fire dies down, making Naruto and Tails sigh in relief. They both glared at Dr. Nega, who continued to laugh and not pay attention to them. They glanced at each other before Naruto turned away and teleports in front of the mobile. However, both of his fists were covered in violet and purple pulsating spheres. Chaos Nightmare. Music ends. Naruto punched Nega's mobile, using both of his fists, causing it to explode off of its spiked clamps. Dr. Nega screamed as his mobile spun around and disappeared from sight, becoming a star. Laugh at that fat ass, Naruto shouted, a large vein hovering above his head. He took a deep breath and released it before flying back to Tails, who jumped on a capsule and released the animals. You all better? Tails asked. Yes. Yes I am. Naruto nodded. He held his hand out. Shall we? Let's. Naruto and Tails ran forward along the foothold. They entered a room before they did a spin dash at a door. But by doing so, they both began to descend to the ground. Ah! The two screamed as they held each other. They went through a bunch of clouds, not paying attention to the fact that the color of the sky began to change from sunny to midday. Music. Sandopolis Zone, Act 1, Sonic and Knuckles. They looked down to see where they were landing but only saw darkness. They landed in something soft and it sunk them to it. They did a spin jump out of wherever they landed in and sat on the ground. Naruto spat out whatever was in his mouth while Tails shook his head and tilted his head to the side, making sand come out of his ears. Not the kind of landing I was expecting, Naruto said, spitting more stuff out of his mouth. He looks down, saw there was sand everywhere, making him stand up in surprise. Sand. Whoa, where is this? A beach or something? No, Tails said, wiping the sand off his clothes. He got a good look around the sandy area. He could see palm trees and some pyramids in the distance. I think we're in a desert. A desert? Naruto asked in shock but groans. Aw man, we're seriously in a desert. This is the first time I've been to a desert. I hope that we aren't already. Don't worry Naruto. Tails smiled. I'm sure we'll find a way out of here. All we gotta do is follow the path. Naruto's eyes went flat from what Tails just said. He turns to look at him. What path? He asked in a deadpan tone. Tails blinks a couple of times as he saw the look his best friend gave him. He looks around again. Well, he sweat drops. That's right. They're in a desert. People get lost in a desert. He laughs sheepishly as he turns to Naruto. Yeah, good point. Thanks to their enhanced hearing, the duo started to hear something from behind them. They looked back and saw badniks heading towards them. They blinked at them before turning to each other and smiled at each other. Found it, they said at the same time before smirking at the badniks, which made them sweat drop fearfully. They destroyed the badniks by spin jumping them before running off towards their destination. As they journey across the shifty desert sands, the duo encountered many dangerous pits of quicksand. There were times when the duo had to use the sand falls which allowed them go upwards or made them follow the path. They even had to go through a loop twice before it made them go upwards a path. They had to move some blocks out of their path and use them to travel. They even bungee jumped down long ravines to progress further into their destination. Once they went down one last ravine, the duo jumped off the wall and flips down into the center of Sandfall. Woo! Naruto wiped the sweat off his head while Tails used his twintails to fan himself. I can't believe we finally made it through this Sandopolis. I'll say, we haven't even found a single oasis out here. Tails said. Yeah, now let's try and find a way out of this. Naruto stops talking as he felt the ground below them shake. Oh, what now? He asked in shock. I don't know. Tails exclaimed. He looks behind Naruto and his eyes widen in awe. Look. Naruto turns back and his eyes widen while his jaw dropped in shock. A pyramid was rising out of the ground. This was just crazy. Not only is he having his first adventure going through a desert of places, but now he's actually about to going to explore a pyramid. How awesome is that? While true, he never heard of pyramids before, basically because they don't even exist in his world and learned about them through Tails. In fact, while he and Tails were always together, Tails would often teach many things he never heard of before, like Little Planet for example. It just goes to show how big Naruto's world truly is and is all the more reason for him to want to explore it. Then again, South Island, West Side Island and Angel Island, along with Little Planet were from the Hedgehog's world, that he knew for sure. But over time during his adventures, Naruto felt like he was experiencing what Sonic experienced when he traveled through those places, if those visions he keeps having mean anything to him. It also made him wonder something. If the 3 islands and Little Planet are in this world now, then what about the other places from the Hedgehog's world? Could they also be here as well? Naruto shook his head. What the hell was he thinking at a time like this? He looks up just as the pyramid reached the top. Cool tilde, he said in awe. So this what a pyramid looks like. The old man is going to flip when I tell him about this. Hey look Naruto. There's a door. Tails said, pointing at the door. He jumped and hid behind Naruto, who narrowed his eyes, as the door opened by itself. They saw something emerge from inside the pyramid and was in front of them. And much to their confusion and surprise, it was large rock. Before either of them could say anything else, legs began to appear from under the rock. Arms then appeared, and a second after, a head took form. Wahhh. Tails screamed as he wailed his arms around. It's a rock monster. Rock monster. No problem. Naruto said as he jumped and did a homing attack on the rock monster's head, making it slid backwards as its parts got destroyed. See Tails. That thing is just too easy. Naruto saw the rock monster reforms itself again and was now glaring at the two boys. The ultimate ninja sweat drops from that. Okay. Really didn't know it could do that. The rock monster, the guardian, jumps at the duo, making them jump back in surprise. Naruto runs forwards and attacks the guardian again with a spin jump, only to get caught by its large hands and thrown away, earning a scream from him. Naruto. Tails yelled, watching Naruto about to fall into the quicksand. He sighed in relief when he used his ESP to float. He heard the ground tremble, making him jump in the air slightly. He stiffly looks behind him and saw the guardian standing behind him. Hi. Tails waved his hand nervously at the guardian. He runs away from the only to stop as he was near the edge of the foothold, with quicksand below him. He turns to the guardian and saw it was jumping towards him and he began to get nervous. What could he do? If a spin attack won't hurt the guardian, then what will? How could he beat if it'll just reform again? The fox genius looks at the quicksand pit before turning back to the guardian. An idea formed in his head, a smirk forms on his face. Hey you giant rock, is that really all you got? Tails made goofy faces at the rock golem. The guardian jumps once again with Tails running out of the way as the guardian landed. The rock golem turns to Tails only for the fox boy to spin attack it. By doing so, the guardian's body got sent into the quicksand. Surprisingly, the guardian actually exploded while it sunk into the quicksand. Tails and Naruto, who landed next to him, watched on in surprise as the guardian disappeared into the quicksand. Way to go Tails. Naruto smirks at his little partner in crime as he pats his back, earning a laugh from him. I knew you had it in you. Aw shucks. It was nothing. Tails rubbed his head sheepishly. The two heard something opening. They turned around and saw the door to the pyramid opened up. They walked towards it and stared into the pitch-black darkness of the pyramid. Naruto. Yeah Tails. I got a bad feeling about this. Me too bud. The two glanced at each other nervously before they nodded, turning back to the inside of the pyramid. They walked inside it, with Tails holding Naruto's pants for comfort, just as the door closed behind them. Music. Sandopolis Zone, Act 2, Sonic and Knuckles. Now inside the dark pyramid, the duo continued on their path to now try and find their way out of it. What's up with this place? Are all pyramids this dark and spooky? Naruto asked as he and Tails went under a platform that was moving up and down. Where the hell is a light switch when you... Oh wait a second. He saw a chain hanging from a ceiling. He jumps and hangs from it, causing the lights to switch on. Much better. Cool, Tails said, looking around the lighted pyramid. If we see more of those chains, we should pull on them just in case it gets dark. You bet. Naruto dropped to the ground and the two of them continued on their way, jumping across the large pit sand with Tails hanging. Say, why do you think there are light switches in here? Tails asked. Huh. Naruto tilted his head to the side. What do you mean? Don't all pyramids have light switches? No. Well, sort of. Tails answered as he released the switch. In pyramids, most switches are well hidden and are used for deadly traps. Plus, pyramids use torches as means for light since they were made a million years ago. Naruto had a surprised look on his face. Whoa really? So then why does this pyramid have light switches? You think Dr. Nega had something to do with it? I don't think so. Not even Dr. Nega would installed light switches in here. Maybe the people who once lived on the island installed them. Tails thought, placing a hand under his chin. But why though? Naruto narrowed his eyes in thought. He don't know why, but he gets the feeling the light switches were put in to keep something away as it only appears in the dark. And for the first time since the start of his adventures, whatever it is these people were trying to keep away, Naruto definitely doesn't want to know what it is. Naruto also noticed the room lit up again. He looks up in confusion and saw Tails hanging on the chain again. It was starting to get dark again. Tails said sheepishly with a hint of nervousness. Damn, so the light switches have a time limit. Naruto snapped his fingers. Well, let's hurry up and get out of here. This place is giving me the creeps. Me too, Tails said, letting go of the chain. The two ran off, jumping on a spring which launched them up a level as they flew past more footholds before they landed on a path. They saw a loop ahead and they grinned at each other. They did a spin dash as they went around it twice before they were sent upwards, only to hit a red spring as it launched them downwards. They then landed on a capsule, much to their surprise to actually find one this early. They expected to see animals come out of the pyramid. But instead they saw these white floating orb things fly out of the capsule and vanished. That made Naruto and Tails to blink in confusion. They turned to each other. What was that? They asked at the same time before they shrugged their shoulders. Naruto was going to turn forward but stopped when something caught his attention. It looked like a black movable switch. His eyes widened as he had a vision of Sonic being in here and pushed it before leaving the room. Something wrong? Tails asked, noticing Naruto in a trance before he shook his head. Nope, not at all. Naruto used his ESP and had the black switch covered in cyan aura, which got Tails' attention. He moved it forward just as they heard a door opening. The ultimate ninja quickly grabbed Tails' hand and ran past the closing door. Naruto continued to run before his feet slipped on some sand and they were riding down a sand slope. Hoa! The two screamed in excitement as they rode down the slope. Yahoo! Naruto puts his hands up in the air. This is awesome! Tails yelled. They landed on another slope which took them in the opposite direction. The fox boy also noticed that it was starting to get dark again as the lights got lower and dimmer. Hey, the pyramid is gonna get dark again. The moment he said that, the lights went out, making the fox boy squeak in fear. Naruto grabs the frightened Tails and leaps off the slide, jumping off a platform and landed on the sandy stone floor. Ha ha ha, now that's what I call a ride. Naruto laughed. He turns to the scared Tails as he held his pants leg tightly and smirks in a teasing manner. Scared of the dark Tails? No way. Tails cried out, releasing Naruto's leg and glared at him, though it looked like an adorable pout. HMPH. He turns away from him. Naruto rolled his eyes playfully before turning forward and looked around in the dark. Now where's that light switch? Tails still looked away from his best friend. He felt a tap on his shoulder, making him go stiff for a moment. Stop it, Naruto. That isn't funny. Naruto blinks and looks to where he heard Tails' voice. What's not funny? You tapping my shoulder from behind me. Tails exclaimed. He flinched as he felt the tap again. Cut it out. Tails. I'm right in front of you. Naruto stated. Tails froze in place before his eyes widened in fear, trembling very weakly. Well, if that's not you, then what is it? Naruto's eyes widened. He quickly raised his hand and chaos energy was gathered, emitting a light that drove away the darkness surrounding them. He lifted his hand, where Tails' voice was coming from. And what he saw made him go chalk white. Tails, Naruto said in a hushed whisper, but the fear in his voice was as clear as day. Come close to me, and don't turn around. Tails saw Naruto's expression and heard the obvious fear in his voice. He wanted to follow Naruto's orders but he couldn't do it. He also couldn't help but turn around. And what he saw sent chills of fear shooting down his body. Floating in front of him, a few inches away from his face was what looked like a white sheet with horns. Its black sharp eyes stared emotionlessly at Tails. It let out a high-pitched giggle, scaring the fox boy silly as he instantly went behind Naruto. Ghost. Oh okay. It's just 1 gram ghost after all. Naruto tries to smirk, trying to act tough in front of Tails. He definitely doesn't want to Tails know his fear of ghosts, despite his whole body shaking fearfully. I can take him. The ghost let out another high-pitched giggle as 3 more appeared next to it. Naruto and Tails went stiff staring at them with wide eyes. Their eyes widened further as they saw them grow 3 times their size, making them nearly as tall as Tails in his fox form. Those what white orbs that were in the capsule earlier. Naruto said as he pointed at the Hyudoro. I think we found them. The high-pitched giggle from the Hyudoro turned into terrifying growls as they charged at Naruto. Back off Jack. He does a spin dash and charges at one of them. But just before he connected with them, they disappeared. Naruto uncurled, looking around for them. Looks like I scared them off. You guys better run away from me. The ghosts then reappeared above and behind Naruto, making him sweat drop fearfully. Okay, plan B, run away. The Leaf Genin spin dashed to the ghost behind him, making it disappear, and uncurled himself as he grabbed Tails' hand. The Hyudoro blinked from the sudden action before they let out a loud growl as they chased after them. Dude, the hell is up with these guys? Naruto asked fearfully. Hearing a loud growl, he looks up and he let out a high-pitched squeak as he saw the Hyudoro hovering above them. One of them charges at Naruto, making him kick it away as it disappeared. Another one popped out a second or two later. Shit, how do we get rid of them? Tails watched the ghosts as they repeatedly tried to attack Naruto. When they first came in here, it was so dark they could barely see, and then they found, that's it. The light switch. Tails exclaimed. That's why there are switches in here, to keep the ghosts away. Naruto looked to Tails with wide eyes before he grins. He looks up ahead and his grin widened further as he found what he was looking for. He looks at the ghosts, and their eyes showed a hint of nervousness. Eat light bastards. Naruto grabbed hold on the handlebar and a sudden brightness filled the whole pyramid, making the two heroes close their eyes tightly as they heard an ear-piercing screech come from the ghosts. Once their eyes adjusted to the light, they noticed the ghosts have disappeared. The heroes sighed in relief. That was close. What were those things? Tails asked. Don't know. Don't care. Naruto deadpanned, still holding onto the bar. Let's just find a way out of this haunted pyramid. He let of the handle and ran off at high speed. Wait for me. Tails quickly followed after him. The duo continued their way in the hopes of finding a way out of the haunted pyramid. While doing so, they kept finding more switches that leads to a door opening to a room. They also made very sure to be on the lookout for any light switch that comes their way, making sure to activate it and not let Hyodoro come out again. They even tried to find a shortcut, only to run into sand flows which raises the ground level in a room, which in turn made them also get crushed. The duo made it outside a room and saw a loop. They spin-dashed through the loop twice before they went through the ground, landing on a sandslide. They instantly jumped off of it and fell through a pit. They landed in a switch for the entrance to a lower level. They pushed it just enough for when there's space for them to enter at the same time. The duo landed on the sandy floor and saw they were in a large room where there was light. Not torches, mind you, but actual lights. Yes, full lights. We made it. We made it. We made it. Naruto and Tails cheered as they danced happily. Now let's get out of here. Naruto said happily. He turns to exit but blinked in confusion. Hey, check it out. A tall, stone sphinx stood in front of the exit. It is about 7 times Naruto's height. It is clad in stone armor and has spikes on the front of its feet as well as on its torso. At the top, there is a green gem resembling an eye. What's up with the statue? Tails asked. I don't know. Naruto shook his head and ran towards it. Come on. Help me move it. The young heroes went to the statue to try and move it, but due to its massive size it wouldn't budge. Come on. Move, you stupid. Naruto punched it to try and destroy, only to hear a metallic sound. He looks at his fist then to the statue in confusion. Rock. Tails stopped trying to move it when he heard the clank sound. He looks at Naruto then to the statue, a thoughtful look on his face. He used the back of his knuckle to knock on the statue, hearing more metallic clank. He looks at Naruto over his shoulder. Naruto, I don't think this is a statue. Before Naruto could say anything, the duo heard something from above them. They look up and saw the green gem glowing. But they also the statue, starting to move as well. Tails backed away from it in fright while Naruto looked surprised but still back away. The statue slammed its hands to the ground where the duo were, making them leap backwards. It's a robot, Naruto asked. Music. Boss Sonic and Knuckles. The statue then moved towards them, making them taking their fighting stance. The green gem on its head glowed before it fired a green laser at them. Naruto does a spin dash and launched himself at the statue. The moment he landed a direct hit, he got the rings knocked out of him, along with a large comical bump on his head. Ouch. Naruto's eyes widen as he rolled out of the way from the large hand that was going to squish him like a bug. Yowza. He jumps to avoid the laser. Tails watched on as Naruto tried to figure out a way to stop the moving large statue. He looks behind him and saw a wall behind him. At the rate this is going, we might get crushed. He turns to the statue and say the gem glowing again. A light bulb appears above his head. Naruto. Attack the head. Got it. Naruto jumps on the hand of the statue and spin attacks it. The moment he did, the stone tiles receded and revealed Dr. Nega inside the golem. Music stop. Naruto blinked. Dr. Nega blinked. Naruto's eyes narrowed into a glare as a grin forms on his face. The mad scientist sweated in fear. Hello. Goodbye. Naruto spin dashed through the egg mobile and through to the parts connected to it. No, my precious egg golem. Dr. Nega wailed comically as he flew away. Of all the rotten luck. I thought those ghosts would have taken care of them. And I spent forever trying to get them inside the capsule. Naruto and Tails chased after him and made it out of the room. They saw a capsule sitting there by its lonesome. There better not be ghosts in this one. Naruto said. He jumps on the capsule, and much to his and Tails' joy, the capsule had animals. Sweet. Hooray. Tails jumps in joy. The animals cheered around them before they left to escape the haunted pyramid. See you later, guys. Naruto waved goodbye to them. Be careful, everyone. Tails waved as well. He turns to Naruto. Bot time for us to get to, right? Oh, you have no idea. Naruto said, jogging to a room with his sidekick behind. Tails then smirks at him. So you're scared of ghosts too, huh? No, I wasn't. Naruto exclaimed, glaring at Tails. He turns away with a huff. I was just caught by surprise by them. Sure you were, Tails said, not believing him in the slightest. He saw the look of fear on his face when he first saw them. He was as white as a ghost himself. And as they traveled through the pyramid, he heard him muttering, "Keep the lights on," over and over again. Oh whatever Tails. You were scared Tia. The moment Naruto entered the room, he fell through a large hole. Naruto. Tails screams also as he fell through the hole as well. Why does this always happen to us? Naruto shouted. Land of Fire. Selene Town. Blaze sighed as she sat down on a roof and looks around the town she was in. She's been traveling throughout the Land of Fire for days now, though it feels like it's been almost weeks at most. Since then, whenever she needed a break, she would always make a quick stop at a local town around the area. She was also running out of food. The food themselves were gifts from local townspeople since she was a foreigner to them and they wanted to make sure that she stayed healthy out there. There were even times when they would try to give her a weapon or two to make sure she defended herself from any bandits she might come across. Though the truth is, during her journey she ran into some bandits, who were either trying to rob her, kidnap her, enslave her, or worst. The Fire Princess immediately put an end to those disgusting vermin as she gave each of them severe burns that would take forever to heal properly. She doesn't regret her action one bit. After all, her father has taught her many things when it comes to outside world and when dealing with men like them. Do not hesitate against enemies that threaten you, your loved ones and others, my child. Make them regret it severely. Is what he told her. And she did. She made sure to teach those bandits a good lesson when it comes to underestimating someone, especially a 12-year-old princess who has the powers of flame. She looks around Selene Town once again. This town is one of the most average town in the whole Land of Fire. There were shops, homes, stores, and along with a small gambling house. But the one thing that makes this town special is the legend of an extremely rare flower that has special power. From what she heard, this flower has the power to heal any sickness, whether it's known or unknown. Rumors also said that the flower can grant the user an incredible power the likes of which has never been seen before. The town was once filled with dozens of these incredible flowers and the people used them to heal the sickness away from their loved ones. But when word has spread about the flowers, many people, both shinobi and civilians, wanted to take the flowers and use them for their own selfish needs. The shinobi wanted to use the flower as a weapon to use against their enemies, while everyone else just wanted to have the power that it held. And because of that, the flowers became extinct and were never seen from again. Blaze sighs softly. What am I doing? Thinking about some legend. She'll stay here for one more day, and after that it's back to her journey to the Leaf Village. She stood up and was about to jump off the roof, but a noise caught her attention. Where is she? Where the hell did that woman go? Blaze blinked at the shouting and looks down. She sees a group of 4 men running around looking for someone, each one of them looking quite angry. One of them noticed her sitting on the roof. Hey kid, did you happen to see a woman around? A woman? Blaze asked. Yeah, another nodded. She has light blonde hair, brown eyes, a purple mark on her forehead and has a huge rack I've ever seen before. That last comment made Blaze's eyebrow twitch in annoyance. Yeah, that damn woman ran off on her debt. She owes us a lot of money which she never had to begin with. The third one said, who held an empty briefcase, showing it to Blaze. She also came with a woman with short black hair and carried a pig. The fourth man said. Blaze had half-lidded gaze on her face. Debt collectors, huh? And from the sound of it, it looks like this woman owes them a lot of money, meaning she's a gambler. She sighs and shook her head. My apologies, but I have never seen such woman. Damn it. She probably left town already. One of the men cursed. Split up and keep finding her. The legendary sucker can't hide forever. The group of men separated and ran off in different directions. Blaze raised an eyebrow at the bizarre title. Legendary sucker. She asked in confusion. Was this woman so bad at gambler that she got her own title as result? The Sol princess simply sighed and shook her head. I know you're here. Come out of hiding. So you were able to sense us. That's not bad kid. A feminine voice spoke up. Blaze gained a stoically expression. Who are you? She turns to the person who appeared behind her before she did a large spit take in shock. There stood a fair-skinned slender woman of curvaceous frame with above average height and noticeably large breasts. She has brown eyes and straight blonde hair that parts above her forehead. Her hair has shoulder-length bangs that frame her face and the rest reaches her lower back. She wore a grass-green haori. Underneath she wears a gray, kimono-style blouse with no sleeves, held closed by a broad, dark bluish-gray obi that matches her pants. Her blouse is closed quite low, revealing her sizable cleavage. She wears open-toed, strappy black sandals with high heels. She has red nail polish on both her fingernails and toenails and uses a soft pink lipstick. She wore a necklace. In Blaze's eyes, this woman was definitely beautiful, but she didn't care about that. No, she cared about the very large breasts this woman has, which the princess become very jealous and angry as she hugged her own chest. She watched as every time the woman moved, her breasts would jiggle, making her glare at them in slight envy. You know, kid, the woman's voice snapped Blaze out of her thoughts, getting her attention. Only few people can sense someone like me. And I'm considered a pro at hiding my signature. So either I'm getting rusty or you're just that good. It's the latter, Blaze said in a stoic tone. She stood up and turns around to face the woman, trying her hardest not to stare at the woman's chest in jealousy. Now, who are you? The woman blinked in surprise. You, never heard of me. Am I supposed to? Quote. Good point. The woman shrugged, uncaring. Lady Tsunade. There you are. Blaze and the woman, Tsunade, looked to the left and saw another woman land in front of them. She is fair-skinned, of average height and slender build, with onyx eyes and jet black hair. Her hair is straight and shoulder length with bangs that cover her ears and frame her face. She wears a long bluish-black kimono with white trimmings, held closed by a white obi, and open-toed sandals with low heels. In her arms she held a pig. It is of a light pinkish color, much like any other ordinary pig. Its cheeks blush in a darker shade of the same tint as her skin. She is wearing a pearl collar and a dark red jacket. Oh hey Shizune, Taunton. Tsunade said. Don't just say, hey. Shizune cried out comically before she shut her mouth with her hand. She looks down and saw no one was paying attention and the men weren't in the area. She turns to her master. We've been looking everywhere for you, Lady Tsunade. I can't believe you left us again. Oink. Taunton agreed. Oh relax, you two. We got out of there fine, didn't we? Tsunade asked, waving her hand up and down. Are you kidding me? After you ran away, they chased us all through town. We had to hide in someone's bathroom. Shizune exclaimed comically as she stomped her foot, with Taunton nodding in agreement. Blaze watched the interaction between the two, three if you count the pig, with a small sweat drop running down her head. Is that Tsunade woman really the one those men were looking for? Just who exactly were they? Shizune was about to go off again until she noticed Blaze staring at the two with a stoic expression. Oh, who's this? Well, that's what I wanted to know until you showed up and interrupted her. Tsunade said, which made Shizune sputter comically. She turns and smiles slightly. Anyway, name's Tsunade, kid. The woman over there is my apprentice Shizune and the little pig is Taunton. Hello, nice to meet you. Shizune said as he rubbed her head sheepishly. And sorry about what you witnessed just now. Oink oink. Taunton greeted. Well, aren't you going to introduce yourself? Tsunade asked. My name is Blaze. The Fire Princess replied. Blaze. That's a pretty unique name. Shizune commented. I'll say. Thanks for not ratting me out, Blaze. Guess I owe ya. Tsunade thanked her. Don't worry about it, Blaze said. Excuse me for asking, but are you new around here, Blaze? Shizune asked curiously. You look like a foreigner. It was true. Blaze gave off this feeling that she wasn't from around here or in any other lands in the shinobi world. It was also her appearance that told her that she was foreigner, as she never seen clothes or footwear like that. You could say that, Blaze admitted. She doesn't know why, but something in her heart told her to trust these women. Right now, I'm trying to find this village in the Land of Fire. That caught the two women's attention. Blaze noted that Tsunade had a cold look on her face as she turns away slightly while Shizune looked surprised. A village. You must mean the Hidden Leaf Village, right? Blaze nodded. Why you going there? Blaze was silent as she looked to the side slightly, which got their attention more on her more. Oink. Blaze. There's someone in the village, Blaze said as her cheeks turned red slightly. Who I want to see again. Quote. Oh ho. Tsunade laughed a little. I see. Your boyfriend is there right now, huh? Blaze did another spit take as she turns to Tsunade. No, he is not my boyfriend. He's just. I mean. She turns away and played with her hair. Seeing the cute reaction made Tsunade and Shizune laugh at her. Blaze turns around and glares at them in annoyance, her face still heated. Shouldn't you still be hiding? Those men are still after you. She told them. Meh, I wouldn't worry about them. Tsunade said back. Even if they did try to catch me, they'll just be sent to the hospital. Blaze raised a brow at that. But then she sighed and shook her head. She didn't have time to deal with this. If you say so. I wish you three the best of luck then. Whoa, hold on a sec. Tsunade exclaimed. You leaving already? Yes. It's been so long since I've seen him and I miss him dearly. It's very important to me that I see him again. The princess said, which surprised Tsunade and Shizune at the sincere tone in her voice. You must really care about him. Shizune said. Blaze nods and a small smile forms on her face as she thought about the young Naruto smiling happily at her. HMPH. Tsunade smirks. Alright then, kid, as thanks for not ratting, I have decided to show you the right way to the Leaf Village. Really? Blaze and Shizune asked at the same time. Of course, Tsunade said happily. After all, it's important for a young maiden to meet her one true love. He's not my. Aha, there you are. The three females and Pig looks down from the roof and saw one of the men glaring at Tsunade comically. He looks down. Hey guys, I found her. She's up here. The moment he said those words, the group of men appeared and surrounded them, though this time, there were more of them. Blaze and Tsunade remained unfazed by this, but Shizune and Taunton looked comically scared and nervous. Oh no, we've been caught, Shizune called out. All right, Miss Legendary Sucker, you have a debt to pay, the leader of the group said. Hey guys, let's all just calm down before things get out of hand, Tsunade said in a carefree tone. A large vein appeared over the leader's head. Things already got out of hand when you tricked us with that fake money you had on you. Oh that's all just in the past, can't you just let it go? It happened 15 minutes ago. The group of men yelled comically with large heads, blowing the woman's hair back. Blaze, Shizune whispered in Blaze's ear, getting her attention. We better step back. Blaze didn't comment but listened to her regardless. Enough of this crap. Teach her a lesson, boys. The leader ordered as they surrounded Tsunade. He grinned in a comical evil manner as he cracked his knuckles. Now, get that hag. Shizune and Taunton paled in fear at what the leader said. Oh no, she turns to Tsunade and sweated when she saw her head down. She grabbed Blaze's hand, using her free hand while she still held onto Taunton. Run away. Wah. Before Blaze could ask, Shizune instantly ran away while still holding onto her. The men gave battle cries as they charged at Tsunade, who remained where she was. She looked up as veins were pulsing all over her face. What did you call me? Hearing the loud explosion made Blaze turn back in shock. Her jaw instantly dropped in a comical manner as she saw the building they were on was completely destroyed. She heard the cries of the men falling from the sky and noted that they landed in the lake not too far from the town. Oh why did they have to call her the H word? Shizune cried out in complete fear, still running and holding onto Blaze, ignoring the comical looks on the townspeople's faces. Anyone who calls her that will suffer her wrath. Oink! Taunton cried out in agreement. Blaze still looked at the destroyed building in complete shock. Did that woman Tsunade actually do that? She couldn't believe such raw power the woman had in her person. Wait, Tsunade introduced Shizune as her apprentice. Blaze thought as she remembered their introduction. Does that mean these two are shinobi? If that's true, then Tsunade must be a very powerful shinobi with such incredible power. Yet she's here in this town gambling and running off on her debts. It would be best if I keep my money out of her sight. Blaze deadpans. She hoped this will be a short journey with these two women, along with the pig. Angel Island. Lava Reef Zone. Music. Boss theme, Sonic and Knuckles. Let's see you try and avoid me now, Naruto. Dr. Nega laughed evilly, watching as Naruto and Tails were jumping on rocks to them from falling into the lava. This is a dirty trick, Nega, Naruto exclaimed. Naruto and Tails were facing against Dr. Nega's hot mobile. They were avoiding the hot mobile and keep themselves from falling into the lava. Damn it, Naruto cursed as Dr. Nega laughed again, vanishing into the lava. At the rate this is going, we're gonna be here all day. He glares comically at the small spiky balls in the lava. And those landmines Nega keeps on launching at us is doing little damage to him. What do we do? Tails asked. Naruto could sense Nega was getting ready to come out again on the other side. He looks at the landmines and an idea forms in his head. Using his ESP, he gathered up the landmines together and held them above his head. Gotta time this just right. He muttered to himself. He saw a ripple in the lava. Wait for it. Here I. Chaos control. All of time stopped when those words were said. Naruto could see the hot mobile out in the open. Naruto grins as he sent the mines at the exposed mobile. He snaps his finger as time returns to normal. And a large explosion erupted from the hot mobile as the landmines exploded on it. This isn't the end, Dr. Nega exclaimed as the hot mobile sunk into the lava. Music end. The duo watched as the lava suddenly began to cool down and get hardened. Huh, that's weird, Tails commented. You know what's not weird? Me kicking Knuckles' moronic ass for that earlier stunt, Naruto said flatly. Flashback. Music. Lava Reef Zone, Act 2, Sonic and Knuckles. What the hell is up with this underground cavern? Naruto asked in comical anger. When is this going to end? As the duo traveled through the lava reef, by falling from the Sandopolis, they've been traveling non-stop throughout the boiling hot network of mines, trying to escape it before they die because of the heat. While doing so, they came across a pair of bullet-shooting tentacles, which they immediately destroyed and a giant metal hand near the end of the mine. At first, they were confused about the hand and wondered what it was even doing here. After the lava cooled down and hardened, they continued onwards and were now in a massive crystal cavern filled with dangerous obstacles. Only to end up getting lost. Right now, the duo were resting on a platform. Naruto sighs tiredly as he wiped the sweat off his brow. We need to get out of here. Now. Yeah, Tails agreed as he used his twin tails to fan himself. He sighs tiredly as well. They've been traveling in this cavern for a while now and it's like getting lost in a maze. He lied down and looks up, a dazed look on his face. And we're still not close enough to find the death egg. Naruto nods, lying down as well, looking up at the cavern. I wonder where that thing could have landed. Something caught his attention. He narrowed his eyes in confusion as he saw a face. He sat up, his eyes still on the face. Say Tails. Tails hums, signaling he heard him. Am I going crazy? Or do I see a face sticking out from above the cavern? Naruto asked, making sure he wasn't the only one to see the face. Tails blinked in confusion before he sits up and looks around. What face? Naruto grabbed Tails by his head and made him turn to where he was facing. Tails narrowed his eyes as he got a closer look. That is a face. His eyes widen for a split second before he turns to his older brother figure. Say, didn't the death egg land on top of a volcano? That made Naruto's eyes to slowly widen in shock. He looks at the face and narrowed his eyes closer to look at the face. Now that he saw it looked an awful lot like Dr. Nega. Yes, we found it. Naruto cheered as he jumped in joy. We actually found the death egg. Yay. Tails jumped in joy. Follow that death egg. So, with newfound energy in their system, the duo traveled to where the death egg was at. They could see they were getting closer and closer to it as they jumped off the grumbling platforms. Yes, they were almost there. Just a little closer. They jumped on the steps before they saw a large boulder in their path. You guys aren't going any further than that. A voice said behind the boulder. Knuckles wah. Naruto screams as the boulder fell off the steps and he got caught in it. Ah. Tails jumped in comical shock as he turns and ran away, only to get caught by the boulder as well. The boulder rolled for a couple of seconds before it dropped due to a crumbling platform. Flashback end. After that event, the death egg activated itself and it got extremely hot in the area they were at. Then Dr. Nega showed up and launched missiles at them, destroying the platforms they were on, and that's how they got into the situation they were in with the hot mobile. Alright, let's get out of here and beat the shit out of Knuckles. Naruto said as he cracked his knuckles, communal veins popping out of his face, the more he kept thinking about the boulder. Something's telling me he's up ahead. Right. The duo ran across the cool hardened lava and onto the next area. They now found themselves in secret chamber. Wow, where are we now? Tails asked. It's like we're in some hidden palace, Naruto said. Music. Hidden palace zone, Sonic and Knuckles. It's funny. It feels like we've been here before. Tails said, looking around the chamber. I think we have been here before. Naruto stated. Let's take a closer look. Okay. Tails nodded. They sped forwards across the zone. So far, they haven't seen any badniks, meaning that this was definitely a hidden chamber that not even Dr. Nega knows about. The only dangerous hazards were the spikes. Naruto suddenly stopped as he sensed something nearby. Tails seeing this stopped as well and looked at Naruto, seeing him staring up at something. What are you looking at? Tails asked, looking at something. Do you see something? I think so, Naruto said as he got covered in a cyan aura. Stay here real quick, I'll be right back. He flew upwards, leaving Tails behind, who only looked confused. Once he made it, he saw there was higher level in this zone, and there was something there. It was glowing white ball of light being surrounded by a rainbow aura. No way, Naruto whispered as he looked at the light speed shoes before looking back at the ball of light. He instantly flew towards it and landed in front of it. He walks past the rainbow aura as it erupted and the ball of light entered Naruto's being as faint sparkles are seen around him. He suddenly had a vision of Sonic and Shadow finding these lights as well, and once they absorbed them, they attacked their enemies so fast, he couldn't see them. This is the ancient light. With this power, you'll be able to perform the light speed attack. Naruto looks at his body. He could feel the power of this ancient light flowing through him. Awesome. He jumps off the higher level and dived down to Tails, landing in front of him, which also startled him. I'm back. I'll say, what were you doing up there? Tails asked curiously, which made Naruto chuckle. I'll tell y'all later, Naruto said. Ah, now I really wanna know. Tails pouted. Again, I'll tell y'all later, Naruto repeated, walking in front of Tails. They entered a room with the only thing was a big, glowing, crimson marble orb, with a small ring-shaped structure around it. What's this thing? Naruto asked curiously, touching the orb. It must do something if it's the only thing in this world. Tails said. He jumps on the orb to sit on it, but by doing so the orb began to emit a pillar of light that made the young fox boy disappear. Tails. Naruto yelled in surprise. The weird glowing orb thing just teleported his buddy somewhere else. Hang on, buddy. I'm coming. He jumps on the pillar and he found himself going upwards and into another area. He steps off the orb and looks around for him. Tails. Where are you? I'm here. Naruto turns to Tails and saw him looking up at something. He walks up to Tails and turns to what he was looking at, only for his eyes to widen in surprise. What? Oh no. The death egg is beginning to fly out of the volcano. The death egg is starting to fly off. We gotta hurry, Tails said in a rush. Right, let's go. Naruto and Tails followed the path to where the death egg was at. As they did, they entered a room and noticed a mural on the wall. The mural depicted of a giant man with a mustache and large arms, holding the Master Emerald, while the other showed a blue hedgehog surrounded by a yellow aura. As that, Sonic. Naruto. Wah. Naruto got punched back, making him let go of Tails. Again. He glares at ahead and saw Knuckles glaring at the two as he bumps his fists together. Since Eggman hasn't taken care of you clowns yet, and seeing how you haven't left, it looks like I'm gonna have to care of you thieves myself. Knuckles said. Okay. You know what? I've had it. Naruto exclaimed, standing up. We aren't the bad guys here. Eggman has been using you the whole entire time, to distract you so that he can take the Master Emerald from under your nose. Like I would listen to the words of a ninja. Knuckles shot back, making Naruto look surprised. Yeah, I know who you are, Mr. Future Hokage of the Village Leaves or whatever it's called. It's obvious you're here to take the Master Emerald for your village. What does Hokage even mean? Oh, for the love of no, you know what? I'm not even gonna explain it to you. Naruto exclaimed. I'm just gonna do what I should have done since you punched me. And what's that? Knuckles asked. He got his answer when Naruto spin dashed into his stomach, knocking him back. That. Battle music. Knuckles theme, Sonic and Knuckles. Oh, it's on. Knuckles roared as he charged at Naruto, who charged in as well and roared. Bring it on, Chuckles. Their fists clashed with each other before Naruto went in for a roundhouse kick. Knuckles dodged the kick and went in for the punch, but Naruto back away. The red-haired youth wasn't finished yet as he sent a bunch of fast jabs at Naruto, who continued to back away from him. Naruto jumps backwards to avoid another fast jab. He then flips and does an axe kick to Knuckles, who caught it and grabbed Naruto to spin him around. He then threw him against the wall, but he flips and got covered by a cyan aura. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 6 clones of Naruto appeared and surrounded Knuckles, who could only gape in comical shock. What the hell? Knuckles yelled. Since when can ninjas make clones of themselves? Eggman never told him about this. Get him. The real Naruto ordered as the clones gave battle cries and charged at the shell-shocked Knuckles, who immediately snapped out of it. Knuckles punched a Naruto in the face, only for it to disappear in a cloud of smoke. A fake. So that's it. While the clone felt real, it could only take one hit and it'll disappear. A Naruto clone attempts to punch Knuckles across the face, only for him to dodge it, only to get hit by another clone's homing attack as he got pushed back. The rest of the clones attempts to attack Knuckles by dogpiling him. The Guardian, however, grins as he punched the ground, sending a shockwave that blew the clones away and made them disappear. However, after punching the last clone, the real Naruto appeared within the smoke and punched Knuckles across the face before kicking him away. That all you got, Chuckles? Naruto asked, running after him. I'm just getting started, fishcakes. Knuckles roared, charging at Naruto. Stop calling me fishcakes, bastard. Naruto punched Knuckles' stomach. Then stop calling me Chuckles, asshole. Knuckles gave a right hook to Naruto's face. Moron. Idiot. Jackass. Loser. Nearby Tails watched the two fight with a sweat drop running down his face. What turned into a serious fight earlier suddenly turned comical as the two were in a cloud of dirt and calling each other names. They were also rolling around on the ground. The two suddenly did a spin dash at each other and got knocked back. Naruto then grabbed Knuckles using his ESP and threw him into a pillar. Naruto and Knuckles suddenly gave out battle cries as they charged at each other, their fists pulled back. Once they were close enough, they punched each other at the same time on their cheeks, making them fly back away from each other. Naruto stood up from his spot and glared at Knuckles, who stood up as well and glared right back. Before they could say or do anything, however, an explosion shook the room they were in. Whoa, what's going on? Tails asked. I don't know, Naruto said. Music. Boss theme, Sonic and Knuckles. An alarmed look came on Knuckles' face. No, the Master Emerald. He ran past Naruto and left them in the room. Come on, Naruto told Tails as he followed Knuckles, with his best friend following after him. Knuckles ran into the entrance of the shrine and skids to a stop as a shocked look appeared on his face. Eggman, what do you think you're doing? Naruto and Tails entered soon after and saw both the Super Emeralds and Master Emerald. They looked up and saw Dr. Nega in his egg mobile holding the Master Emerald. I'm here to claim my prize, of course. Dr. Nega said happily. And I couldn't have done without you distracting those two brats from me. So thank you very much, you gullible fool. Knuckles was now beyond angry. So those two were telling the truth after all. Nega was only using him so that he keep them busy while he went after his Master Emerald. And he fell right into that bastard's slimy little hands. Put that back now, Knuckles roared out as he grabs hold of the Master Emerald. Bah, I don't have time for this. Dr. Nega pushed a button and two mechanical lines came out. They went towards Knuckles and they electrocuted him. Knuckles, Naruto and Tails called out as the Guardian fell off the Master Emerald. They ran towards him, not paying to the fact that Eggman launched too many missiles at them. So long, boys. Music end. The missiles hit the floor beneath them, making a hole large enough for three of them to fall into at same time. Before they landed on the floor, Naruto stood up and shook his head, glaring upwards. Damn it, he got the Master Emerald. Tails looks up worriedly. Oh man. With its power, Eggman will be able to launch the Death Egg. And without the Master Emerald, this whole island will stay down to the surface and won't be able to fly. Knuckles added in, punching the ground in frustration. Shit, I can't believe I got myself tricked like that. I should have listened to you guys, and because of me. He bowed his head in shame. The Master Emerald is. Naruto and Tails looked at Knuckles sadly. They honestly couldn't blame him. After all, from what they've been hearing, Knuckles takes his job as a guardian very seriously and will do whatever it takes to protect the Master Emerald. And from the looks of it, this looks like it's the first time since the Master Emerald was taken under his watch. So that's it. You gonna give up? Just like that? Naruto asked, bringing attention to himself. Eggman may have the Master Emerald now, but that doesn't mean he's won. We're going to get back that emerald and stop him from taking over our planet. Naruto walks up to the kneeling Knuckles and held his hand towards him, making him look up at him in confusion. But we can't do it without your help. So are you gonna stay here and wallow in self-pity for failing, or are you gonna fight and take back your emerald? Knuckles stares at the offered hand then to Naruto. He closed his eyes and smirks to himself. The ninja's right. He can't just stay here because he failed his duty. He's the guardian of the Master Emerald. His job is to protect the Master Emerald at all costs, no matter what. And that's exactly what he's planning to do. I think the answer is obvious. Knuckles opens his eyes and grabs the offered hand, making Naruto grin at him as he helped pull him up. So how do we get out of here? Tails asked. Knuckles walks up to a wall and looks over his shoulder at them. Follow me. He punched the wall to make a large hole and enters the room with Naruto and Tails following him. They watched as Knuckles jumps into another one of those glowing orbs and got sent upwards. Naruto jumps in a second later with Tails jumping in after them. The trio appeared out of the orb and landed on the ground. Naruto and Tails looked around in amazement. Awesome. Where is this place? Tails asked in awe. We're in Sky Sanctuary. Knuckles said in exhaustion. Music. Sky Sanctuary, Sonic and Knuckles. Naruto and Tails stared off into the great Sky Sanctuary. There were a whole collection of ancient ruins surrounding the sky and somehow they were floating. Cool tilde. Naruto said. This place seems more like a sky palace, but yeah, sanctuary sounds better. He heard something loud and was coming from nearby. He and the others turned to the sound and saw something moving in the clouds. His eyes widened when he saw what it was. It's the Death Egg, Tails exclaimed. Seeing it rise up from the clouds was not a good sign, even more so when they saw red dots flying out of it and heading towards them. We have to hurry before it gets further to the edge of space, otherwise we won't make it. Hang on. Knuckles ran ahead and jumped across a large gap. He steps on a switch, which made a bridge appear. Naruto and Tails crossed the bridge and ran past the exhausted Knuckles, which made them stop and turn to him. What are you doing? Come on, Knuckles, Naruto said. Don't worry about me. Just hurry up and stop Eggman. Knuckles told them. Now go before it's too late. Naruto stared at Knuckles for a moment before he nodded his head and ran forward, with Tails following, though he looked back at Knuckles. Do you think he's alright? Tails asked worriedly. Don't worry. He can take care of himself. Naruto said, a smirk very similar to Sonic's appearing on his face. He is Knuckles after all. Tails wasn't sure if it was the sun or not, but he could have sworn he saw a blue hedgehog overlapping Naruto. The blue hedgehog looked back at him and gave him a thumbs up and wink. Now let's take care of Eggman once and for all. Naruto and the blue hedgehog said at the same time. That made the fox boy blink his eyes and shake his head, seeing the hedgehog was gone and only Naruto remained. Alright. Weird. Very weird indeed. And so, the duo traveled far into the sanctuary. As they did they encountered large bounceable clouds, which made Tails laugh a little when he saw Naruto was startled by them. They ran into a new type of badniks called Egrobos, as they saw one chasing some animals before they destroyed it. They seemed to be the only type of badnik in the sanctuary, which honestly made sense because they came from the Death Egg. It was actually difficult as the duo had to jump from platform to platform while at the same making sure not to fall off the ruins. It also didn't help with that some of the ruins were also getting destroyed in the process. They climbed further and further to the zone as they destroyed many eggrobos that got in their way. They continued on before seeing the Death Egg in all its glory. Look, it's the Death Egg. We're almost there, Tails said happily. He looks ahead and his smile grew. And another one of those teleportation orbs. Sweet. Time to end this Eggman. Naruto grins as he and Tails went to the orb only to skid to a stop as they saw a ball coming in and destroy the orb. What the hell? Naruto looks up at the ball wore deadpan expression as he stared at a checkered ball. You gotta be kidding me. He looks up and saw Egg Mobile H floating there. He couldn't see who it was because of the sun's light reflecting off of the glass. Seriously Nega, didn't you use this thing in our first battle back on South Island? Egg Mobile H suddenly swing its ball at them, but together using a spin attack, they knocked the Egg Mobile H back and destroyed the chain that held the ball making it fall off of the sanctuary. That all you got? Naruto asked as he and Tails took a fighting stance. Instead of answering, 7 ball pods came out and circling around the Egg Mobile. Those things again? Tails asked. Looks like Egghead forgot what happened last time he fought using those things. Naruto said as he and Tails grins at each other. Let's help remind him. They charged at the flying Eggman as it charged to them as well. Tails destroyed the 7 ball pods, while Naruto did a mid-air spin dash, sending it crashing to the ground, making it explode. Eggman. Naruto called out in shock. He honestly expected Eggman to get out of there before it was too late. What? He asked in confusion as something metallic stepped out of the destroyed Egg Mobile. The hero's eyes widen in shock at what stood before them. Quote. Metal Naruto. Naruto asked with his brows furrowed. Now getting a closer look, this robot wasn't Metal Naruto. In fact, it looked like a fusion between Robo Naruto and Metal Naruto, being closer to the former in size but more like the latter in terms of appearance, such as longer legs and arms, along with the spiky quills of his hair. Nope, that is so not metal, Naruto said. Tails backed up slightly, looking little fearful at this robotic Naruto. This guy look a little tough, don't you think Naruto? Naruto scoffed. Hey, are you kidding? He doesn't look all that. He and Tails quickly jumped out of the way as the new robot Naruto did a spin dash at them and took a stance. Tough. The robot Naruto then dashed backwards towards them, making the heroes move out of the way again. Naruto took this chance and used the homing attack, knocking the new Metal Naruto back slightly but it hardly did anything. Sheesh. This guy looks like Robo Naruto but with Metal's abilities. I wonder what I should call this one. Naruto looked thoughtful but then rolled out of the way when the new look-alike turned into a spin ball and bounced all over the place. Is now really the best time to be asking that? Tails asked frantically as he flew away from the spinning buzzsaw of death. Of course. Since this guy is different from the other two robot me, we have to call him something to differentiate between them. Naruto said before he jumps to avoid the spin dash of death from his evil counterpart. I got it. Let's call him Mecha Naruto. Great. Now do something about Mecha Naruto. Tails exclaimed. He turns to the Death Egg, seeing it continue to fly up. The Death Egg is starting to get away. Right. Naruto dodged Mecha Naruto while crossing his fingers. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Multiple Naruto clones surrounded Mecha Naruto. The clones charged at the badnik as it remained where it was. Once they got close enough, Mecha Naruto did a spin attack as it bounced and spun around the clones, destroying them in the process. Just as it got out of its spin attack, while in midair, Mecha Naruto got hit by multiple pillars that sent it flying off the island, taking the pillars with it. Tails looked surprised before he saw Naruto fly down and landed next to him. He also looked disappointed. Man, that was way past too easy. Naruto sighed in a slight disappointment before he shrugs. Ah well, come on Tails. Okay. Naruto and Tails ran to the tallest tower that was close to the Death Egg. They ran up the corkscrew ramp before noticing that the ramp was crumbling beneath them, making Tails fly next to Naruto instead of being behind him. Once they made it to the top, they leap off the tower and went on board the Death Egg. Yes, we made it, Tails cheered. We getting close to the edge of space. Let's hurry up inside, Naruto told Tails as they both nodded and went to find a way inside the Death Egg. Why do I get the strangest feeling that we're gonna get lost in there? Land of Fire. With Blaze and company. Right now, Blaze and her companions were walking down the road, with Tsunade taking the lead of course. It's been an hour or two since they left town. As they traveled together, Shizune began to hold a conversation with Blaze, wanting to know more about her while Blaze herself only answered in short sentences. The princess of the Sol Kingdom had to admit, these two women were nice traveling companions despite the two's constant arguing about Tsunade's gambling problem and her increase in debt. She found herself having a nice chat with Shizune, with Tsunade throwing her 2 cents in during the conversation. But there were times when Blaze would twitch in annoyance as she watched Tsunade's breasts keep bouncing every time she either walks or cross her arms underneath them. Whenever that happens, she would always put her hands to where her chest was. Like, honestly, what on earth did she eat to get a chest that big? Blaze asked herself in anger and jealousy. Shizune herself was quite curious about Blaze. It's not every day that a foreigner would come to the Shinobi Nations. It also made her all the more curious to know where she came from and what's it like. So she asked her some stuff and was surprised to learn that her home is in fact another continent much like the Shinobi Nations, and that continent has a kingdom ruled by a royal family. But what made this continent special was that it had no shinobi. At all. This world is supposed to be filled with shinobi. After all, there are islands around the Shinobi Nations that have their own shinobi as well. To hear that there is a continent out there that doesn't have shinobi made Shizune want to go there someday and learn more about it. Plus, from what Blaze told her, there are also smaller islands around the continent that weren't even on their map. Tsunade herself had been listening on the conversation the two were having about Blaze's home. She won't lie, she's now curious as well. To learn that there's a continent without shinobi makes her want to go out and find it. She wonders if the place has any decent gambling places. She also wanted to know what their currency is. After all, this is an unknown continent, so of course they should have their own currency, right? Not only that, there's also something different about Blaze. It's not just because she's a foreigner, it's just she feels different from ordinary people. People who have unused chakra. Hey, we're here. Shizune's voice called out, interrupting Tsunade from her thoughts. They were now standing in a crossroad split into two paths. They looked back and forth between the left path and the right path. Well, it looks like this is it, Shizune said, a little sadly. The way to the Leaf Village is to the left. Though it might take a couple more days for you to get there. Oink. Taunton said sadly. Where will you three be going? Blaze asked curiously. To wherever the wind takes us, of course. Tsunade said happily. Of course, Blaze sighed and shook her head, not knowing she wore a small smile on her face. Well, it's been pleasure to meet you, Tsunade, Shizune and Taunton. May you have a safe travel. That made the two women and Pig smile at Blaze and nod their heads. Same to you, kid, Tsunade said, placing a hand on her hip as comical teasing look appeared on her face. Good luck in finding your boyfriend, Tilda. We'll be rooting for you. Shizune giggled at the massive blush on Blaze's face. Oink, oink, Taunton added in happily. He's not my boyfriend, Blaze yelled in embarrassment as she stomps her foot down and turned away, arms crossed and a cute pout on her face. Goodbye. Fire erupted from Blaze's feet, shocking Shizune and Taunton while Tsunade looked surprised and interested. They watched as Blaze took off very fast, leaving behind a trail of fire. Shizune and Taunton's jaw dropped at the display of power and speed as they stared at the trailer of fire. WWW, what just happened? Oink, oink. Tsunade placed a hand under her chin as she looked towards the trail of fire. It looks like their new friend is more than just a foreigner. She has a power based on fire. Blaze, huh, she smirks in amusement. So that's why her parents gave her that unique name. I have a funny feeling we'll be seeing that kid again real soon. Lady Tsunade, Shizune asked. It's nothing, Tsunade said as she walks forward to their path. She also wants to meet the person who won Blaze's heart and wondered what the guy was doing right now. Meanwhile, the Death Egg. Music. Death Egg Zone, Act 2, Sonic and Knuckles. Achoo. Naruto sneezed. Bless you. Tails chirps. Thanks, Naruto said as he looks up thoughtfully. I wonder who was talking about me. Naruto and Tails were now running across a platform as with the Earth scene in the background. Earlier they were traveling inside the Death Egg, going past the dangerous obstacles and traps that were in their way. And by dangerous I mean they had to go through rocket launchers, anti-gravity chambers, electrical hazards, ring shooters, and some very mean badniks. After defeating the sub-boss Red Eye, the duo were now running outside the Death Egg, where they could see their planet. Get ready, Tails. We're getting close to Dr. Nega, Naruto told him. You got it, Tails exclaimed. Naruto and Tails had determined expressions on their faces as they ran faster and faster, going past the badniks that charged at them, destroying them in the process and releasing the animals. They saw a high-speed elevator in front of them. They entered the elevator and found themselves moving at top speed. They got out of the elevator and walk out only to see a badnik floating above them, which made them scream in surprise. It looked like a miniaturized Death Egg, only it was the shape of a floating ball that has eyes and a bumper around them. Ha ha ha. Dr. Nega's voice laughed out loud, making the duo look back to see him behind the elevator. Welcome to the new and improved Death Egg, boys. I've been waiting for you both to show up, especially since I knew my mecha Naruto wouldn't be able to stop you. Even though I had hoped he did. He deadpans at the end. Huh, so his name was really Mecha Naruto. Naruto and Tails thought as they glanced at each other. Ah well, like they always say, if you want something done right, you do it yourself. Have fun with my death ball. Dr. Nega said. The duo looks up to the death ball as they heard something drop. They saw a small buggy-like object that has 3 spikes attached to it and was heading towards them. They watched as the buggy moved towards them while the death ball was above them moving side to side while it had its bumper aimed at them to protect them. Naruto had a look of boredom on his face as though he wasn't at all worried about the badnik while Tails looked a little nervous. Quote. May I finish this quickly? He asked Tails as he crossed his arms while also tapping his foot. Be my guest. Tails bowed. Naruto gains a feral grin. Chaos control. As Naruto teleports away, Tails crossed his arms and smirks as the death ball had multiple dents and scorch marks appear before it crashed on the floor. Naruto teleports back next to Tails and clapped his hands as the death ball exploded. The explosion resulted in the elevator that they came out of to explode, revealing Dr. Nega, who had a dumbfounded expression on his face. He sweated when Tails glared at him while Naruto had a cheeky grin on his face as he wagged his finger back and forth at him. Run away. Dr. Nega gave up as he ran off. No you don't. Naruto and Tails quickly chased after him. Eventually, as they went further outside, getting closer to the escaping scientist, Dr. Nega quickly jumped into a hatchway that closed behind him, making the duo stop. What the? They heard something collapsing behind them and looks back to the ground was grumbling away. They quickly ran to the more stable ground on the right. Dude, what was that? Tails asked. That big thing. Looks like the final boss. Naruto exclaimed. They heard something coming from behind them, making them go stiff, as they turns around to see whatever it was behind them and what they saw made their eyes go wide in shock and disbelief. Battle music. Final boss, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. There before them is a massive battle mech. The mech resembles the Death Egg robot, only this robot is much bigger and it has a closer resemblance to the Egg Robo back in the sanctuary. That's a pretty big robot. Naruto sweated a little bit while Tails hid behind his leg. That's right. Dr. Nega laughed in excitement. Say hello and goodbye to the great Eggman Robo. 2 groups of 3 massive fingers came out of hiding and were locked on them as they went to where the duo were. Naruto's eyes widened as he grabs Tails and moved out of the fingers' way as they crashed down at them. The fingers moved and went to where they were. It looks like we'll have to take out those fingers. Tails said. Right. You take one group, I'll take the other. Naruto nodded as he runs forward, getting the left hand's attention. Let's do it to it. You got it. Tails looked at the right hand and saw it was getting ready to hit him. He did a spin charge just as the hand slammed into him, only for the middle finger to be destroyed. Once he was in the middle between both fingers, he did a spin dash that ricocheted him between the fingers, destroying them both. He turns to Naruto and saw he had ripped the 3 fingers off the hand. Is that all you got? Naruto threw one of the fingers at the great Eggman Robo's face, making it bounce off of it. I'm just getting started. Dr. Nega exclaimed. The great Eggman Robo drops below the platform but then reappeared on the left side of the platform. The mech slowly walks towards them, making the duo run back to avoid getting hit by the flames that shot out from the nose. We'll have to find its weakness. Tails exclaimed. What do we do, Naruto? Naruto looks at the battle mech before he narrowed his eyes at the nose. The nose. We have to attack the nose. He runs back to the mech and does a homing attack on it. By doing so, however, the chest opened up to reveal the Master Emerald in all its glory. The Master Emerald, the duo said at the same time. From the looks of it, the Master Emerald seems to be inside a laser weapon as it seems to be charging. Uh-oh. Naruto and Tails jumps up comically as the laser fired, grazing Tails' twin tails slightly and burning off Naruto's pants a little bit. Once the laser died down, the duo fell back and continued on just as the chest closed. So that's it, Tails said, blowing on his tails slightly as he shook them. Dr. Eggman must be using the Master Emerald to power that thing. Then I guess we better get it out of there. Naruto grins as he and Tails avoided the flamethrower. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 5 clones popped out of existence as they grinned at the great Eggman Robo. Alright guys. Get ready to attack together. The real Naruto ordered. Right. The clones and Tails said at the same time as they each did a spin charge. Naruto grins at them before turning back to the still charging mech as he took out 2 gold rings. He does a homing attack on the nose again, opening the chest. Now. The clones and Tails did the spin dash together on the exposed chest, landing a devastating attack on the mech as the laser stops charging. Once the clones vanished, Tails flew back as he noticed the glowing golden lights in Naruto's hands. Do it, Naruto. The fox boy said happily. You got it. Super Chaos Spear. Naruto continued to grin as he unleashed a more larger and powerful green-colored version of his Chaos Spear. The attack landed a direct hit at the weapon, which resulted in the mech to explode. Yeah, bye-bye lame-o Robo. Naruto and Tails watched as the great Eggman Robo drops down into deep space, its explosion still being heard. Not to their surprise, the duo saw the escaped Dr. Nega, in his egg mobile which held the Master Emerald on the end of its grabbing device. No way, I can't believe this, Dr. Nega exclaimed in shock. Believe it, Doc. Now hand over that emerald, Naruto demanded. I don't think so. Dr. Nega flies off to the ahead of them, just as the platform began to crumble again. Whoa, the heroes quickly ran after Dr. Nega. Once they got close enough, Naruto did the shadow clone jutsu and 3 clones appeared. Naruto, Tails and the clones each did a homing attack at Dr. Nega. You're finished Nega, Naruto exclaimed. He jumps in the air and does one last homing attack. The result were expected as the egg mobile exploded, making it drop the Master Emerald, while the platform stopped crumbling. No, Dr. Nega cried out as he flew away. Music ends. Yeah, we did it. Naruto and Tails did a mini victory dance and finished it with back-to-back pose. Before they could celebrate further, the whole Death Egg went up in a massive explosion, which made them jump in surprise as they looked at the massive space station. Oh no, Tails cried out. The great Eggman Robo crashed into the Death Egg's power source and now it's starting to explode. Damn, Naruto grit his teeth as the explosions kept getting stronger and stronger. He turns to one of his clones, well the only clone that didn't dispel itself. Get Tails and send him back to the planet. I'm gonna get the Master Emerald. No problem. Clone Naruto nodded as he grabbed Tails. Huh, the tech wizard asked in surprise. He turns to the real Naruto with widened eyes. Naruto. No. He reached his hand to his best friend, who gave him a thumbs up and wink, but then vanished. See you later bud, Naruto told him. He turns to the Master Emerald and picks it up. As for what? He screamed in comical shock as the explosion rocked the platform. He turns to the Death Egg and his eyes widen as he saw a shockwave heading his way. Oh, shit. Naruto quickly leaps off the platform to try and fly away. Sadly, he still got blown away by the shockwave, which separated him from the Master Emerald. Wah! He spun around comically before he used his ESP to stop, only for him to be upside down. He returned to his normal position. Well, that's just great. The ultimate ninja deadpans. Meh, at least he made it away from the Death Egg. Speaking of, he turns to the now destroyed space station and saw the destroyed pieces of it, floating around it. He smirks at his accomplishment, rubbing his fist across his nose. Let's see you make another one of those now egghead, Naruto said before he face palms. Aw man, the Master Emerald. He looks around for it and saw it right ahead of him. He smiles. There you are. He flies to the emerald before he heard something behind him. He looks back in confusion before he quickly moved out of the way as something blue went past him and headed towards the Master Emerald in breakneck speed. He already knew who it was. Of course, he would be back. Naruto deadpans. He watched as the blue ship went through an asteroid field. A challenging grin appear on his face. So that's your game, huh? Okay, let's play. He closed his eyes. Meanwhile, Angel Island. Hidden Palace. A recovering Knuckles sighs as he looked at the empty spot of the Master Emerald. He looks up in the sky, a somewhat worried look on his face. A couple of minutes passed when he heard the Death Egg's loud explosion and saw it up in space. He'll never say it out loud, but he really hoped those guys were doing okay up there and made it out safely. He also hoped Dr. Nega died inside the Death Egg, if not then he's going to enjoy pounding his face in if he sees him. Knuckles sighs once again before his shot open. I feel some strange energy. He turns around and saw a flash of green light, making him cover his eyes. He uncovers them and saw Naruto and Tails. Huh, you made it out. He noticed the Master Emerald wasn't there. Where's the Master Emerald? It's still in space. Naruto went to go get it. Tails answered as he looks up in the sky with a worried expression, not paying attention to the confused expression on Knuckles' face. What? The Guardian turns to Naruto in confusion. I'm a clone dude. The clone replied. He was to dispel himself but stopped himself as he and the others saw something glowing. They turned towards the source of the glowing and saw it was the Super Emeralds as they continued to glow brighter and brighter. Hey, what's going on with the Super Emeralds? Tails asked in confusion and slight surprise. He turns to Knuckles and saw the serious look on his face, along with clone Naruto. It's happening, Knuckles said. What's happening? Tails asked. Tails, do you remember when we first collected the Chaos Emeralds and I told you what happened on board the Death Egg? Clone Naruto asked instead of answering. Yeah, you told me that you transformed into Super Naruto and beat the Death Egg robot. Tails replied, scratching his cheek. But what does that have to do with what's happening now? Think about it for a second. Knuckles replied this time, getting both Tails and the clone's attention. If 7 Chaos Emeralds can cause a super transformation, what do you think happens if someone used 7 of the Super Emeralds? Tails blinked but then widened his eyes in surprise before he smiles in excitement. You mean, Naruto, the real Naruto, is going to transform into his super form? Transform. Yup. Super. Not so much. Clone Naruto answered, smiling happily. Huh. Tails tilt his head. Remember, the Super Emeralds are enhanced forms of the Chaos Emeralds. Knuckles reminded him. With them, you can achieve a transformation that's way powerful than a regular super form. A form that's powerful than Super Naruto. Tails gasped in awe as his pupils turned into stars. He had no idea that there would be a form that's stronger and more powerful than Super Naruto if someone were to use the Super Emeralds. That's so awesome. Yup. So the boss won't be going super. Clone Naruto said as he closed his eyes and got ready to dispel. No. He's going. Naruto grins as he felt the clone he left Tails with dispel itself, which made him snap his eyes open, revealing them to purple. Hyper. He gave out a battle yell as a white aura erupted from him, forming into a pillar, which also seems to be flashing in a rainbow-like multicolor. The pillar that covered Naruto then vanished, revealing his new form, Hyper Naruto. His form is quite similar to Super Naruto, but with notable obvious differences. One of which has his hair turned into a silverish blue, almost platinum color, with some added quills to his hair. Once again, the red stripes were gone and the 3 small tufts were there, just not in the same color as they were back when he was super. His eyes had gotten sharper and more narrowed, to show that things were getting serious now. He also had a rainbow-like aura around his whole body. Hyper Naruto looks at his hands, seeing the markings were now multicolored, and clenched it into a fist. An awe look come on his face. Awesome. Is this really the power of the hyper form? He feels ultra stronger than before when he was Super Naruto. Awesome. 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 There's no other words to describe other than just awesome. Everything about this was awesome. Is this what Sonic felt like when he first transformed into his hyper form? How awesome. He looks ahead and could see the blue ship despite how far away it was. He can also sense the Master Emerald inside it. A grin appears on his face. Time to party, Eggman. Battle music. The Doomsday Zone, Sonic and Knuckles. Hyper Naruto instantly took off flying towards the blue ship in in hypersonic speed. As he went through the asteroid field, he avoided every single asteroid that were in his way or he would just destroy them using his fist. He saw he was getting close to the ship, only for it to fire missiles at him. Hyper Naruto wasn't even worried as he held his hand out, used his newly advanced ESP to create a large white shield of energy. He caught the missiles and the asteroids that were in his radius. He then launched them at the ship, only to see that they didn't do much damage. That thing's heavily armored, Hyper Naruto observed as he got closer to the ship. But everything has a weakness, including this thing. While doing so, the ship fired homing missiles at him. He knocked one away, making it hit an asteroid before he flew away from the other 2. He looks back at the missiles before charging at the ship, landing on it. He saw the face of the ship turn to him, which made Hyper Naruto grin as he pulled a middle finger out at it. He flies off the ship when he felt the 2 missiles get close, just as they explode on it. Hyper Naruto flew in front of the ship, flying backwards with his arms crossed and a smirk present on his face. And I think I found it. The ship fired more homing missiles at him, prompting Hyper Naruto to turn and fly normally. He flies around the asteroid field as the missiles chased him around. He used the asteroids as a way to destroy 2 of them, leaving only 4 missiles at him. He turns back to the missiles and turns to face the ship, flying directly at it with a grin present on his face. Let's see you handle this. Hyper Naruto said, looking back at the missiles one last time. Good. They were getting closer to him. He looks back at the ship and wagged his finger before teleporting away. The 4 missiles landed a direct hit on the face, making multiple explosions be heard. The damage done to the ship caused it to fall down as it caught fire. The ship stayed for a moment before it exploded, which resulted in a purple shockwave erupting from it. Music end. Hyper Naruto looks to where the ship erupted from before he began to look around for the Master Emerald. He closed his eyes and concentrated on sensing the emerald, only to find it behind him. Aha! He turns and saw the Master Emerald floating in space. He flies to the emerald and floated in front of it. Okay, time to take you back to Knuckles. I don't think so. Before he could grab it, a giant robot with a jetpack suddenly appeared from below him, surprising Hyper Naruto slightly. It looked exactly like the Death Egg robot in design but with a more streamlined appearance and features similar to the Egg Robo. The robot smacked the still surprised Hyper Naruto away, making him land flatly on an asteroid. Hyper Naruto just had a flat expression on his face as he got off the asteroid and glared at the giant robot as it grabbed the Master Emerald. I'm not finished yet, Naruto. Dr. Nega declared as the robot turns to him. All I gotta do is keep you away as you run out of energy. Farewell. The robot turns around and flies off. Hyper Naruto took a deep breath and released it into a big sigh. Okay, This is starting to get stupid. But the man doesn't give up, so he can at least respect that about him. Just a teeny tiny bit. Looking up at the escaping robot, Hyper Naruto saw he left some bombs that were heading his way. He shook his head and grins as he did a spin charge. While he did so, small flashing multicolored balls were gathering up and entering his being, to show he was charging up for a special attack. Once he finished gathering up the energy he needed, he stopped spin charging, showing he was surrounded by small balls. Ready, go. Music. Invincibility, Sonic and Knuckles. In a flash of white light, Hyper Naruto charged head on the retreating robot, not paying attention to the incredible damage he caused to the asteroid field as multiple asteroids got destroyed by a shockwave that he caused. He flashed past the homing bombs as they got destroyed, which resulted in an explosion that docked Tornaga's attention. He looks behind him and the robot's eyes widened comically as he saw a multicolored torpedo speeding towards him, while also destroying the asteroids that were in its way. No, no, please no. Dr. Nega pleaded to himself as he tried to fly faster. I should have won this time. Me, not that annoying ninja brat. Sadly for Dr. Nega, he felt his robot shake before it stopped flying. He looks and saw Hyper Naruto floating in front of him, while holding the Master Emerald in his hand. He was also smirking at him. Game over, Doc. Hyper Naruto said as he looked down at the giant hole that he went through at the robot. He watched as the robot began fall down. Impossible. No. Dr. Nega screamed as the robot began to erupt in small explosions before it blew up entirely. Music. Sky Sanctuary Zone, Sonic and Knuckles. Hyper Naruto watched on in satisfaction as the robot exploded. He looks up at the Master Emerald before he cheered in excitement. All right. That was awesome, he said happily as he flies down to the planet in hyperspeed. Once he made it to see the clear blue sky, he slowed down his flight and was smoothly flying through the air, a giddy grin on his face. This was the greatest adventure ever. Hyper Naruto shouted happily. Oh man, now I can't wait to tell the others about this. They are seriously gonna flip. Naruto, over here. Hyper Naruto's smile grew wider as he looks down and saw a happy Tails, still in his human form, flying the tornado, looking up at him and waving his hand. Tails. He flies down to the wing of the tornado, landing on it while at the same time reverting back to his regular form. You did it, Naruto. You won. Tails said happily. That was so cool on what you did. Of course, little buddy. Naruto grins cockily. As if old Egghead would be able to beat me. He tossed the Master Emerald to the back of the tornado, which was caught by a handle. Now let's head back to Angel Island. We got a delivery to make. Roger. Tails said happily. Seeing said island up ahead, the tornado headed towards Angel Island full speed. Once they got close enough, Tails piloted the plane down, just above the jungle trees. Naruto meanwhile looked around for any sign of Knuckles and caught the sight of red spiky dreadlocks waiting in a clearing. He used his ESP to get the Master Emerald from the handle. Hey, Knuckles. Naruto called out, which made the Guardian jump in surprise. He looks up and his eyes widen. Here's your present. He gave the Master Emerald to Knuckles, which he caught by his hands. Knuckles examined the Master Emerald and sighed in relief, seeing that it wasn't damaged or anything. He sat the emerald down as the whole island began to float, earning its namesake once again. Thank goodness. Special ending. Sonic Boom ending version. Instruments. Knuckles. Knuckles looked up and saw Naruto and Tails waving at him. Let's have a rematch later on. You and me, no holding back at all. Haha. See you later, Knuckles. Stay safe, okay. Tails added his 2 cents in. And next time, don't be a jackass. Naruto added in also. Just get off my island, you stupid ninja. Knuckles yelled comically as he raised a fist at Naruto, not knowing he was waving it. He watched as they flew off, but they still kept waving at him. He snorts at them before he closed his eyes and crossed his arms, a smirk present on his face. Hey, that guy's one palooka that keeps you running. Still. A soft smile appeared on his face. I have this funny feeling that I haven't seen the last of them. He continued to watch them leave, but for a brief moment, he saw a blue hedgehog appear in Naruto's place. Huh. Knuckles blinks in confusion before shaking his head, seeing the blue hedgehog was gone. He placed a hand on his heart and felt it was beating faster than normal. What the heck? What was that? That blue hedgehog. Why did it feel familiar to him for some reason? And why did it feel like he met it before, along with Tails? If you're strong, you can fly. You can reach the other side of the rainbow. Hey Naruto. Tails called out, getting his attention. What was it like, becoming Hyper Naruto? Naruto blinks and looks up thoughtfully. He then grins happily as he put his arms behind his head. It was awesome. I was definitely way stronger than Super Naruto, I'll tell you that. Aw man, I wish I could have joined you. Tails pouted as his fox ears leaned down. I would have enjoyed being Super and Hyper Tails. It's all right, Take a chance cause there is no circumstance that you can't handle when you use your mind. Ah, don't worry bud. I'm sure you'll be able to turn super in the future. Naruto said. He saw some flickies in the sky singing happy song, making him wave at them as they waved back. But Hyper, we'll have to wait a couple more years for that. Tails still pouted. Oh tilde K, he said before he smiles happily at Naruto. But man, we had a blast of an adventure didn't we? Yeah, we sure did, Naruto said as he thought back on his first adventure on the South Island. Memories of his meeting with Dr. Eggman Nega and collecting the 6 emeralds on the island while saving the animals flashed through his mind. The next memories are him heading towards West Side Island, meeting Tails and forming a brotherly bond with him, collecting the 7 emeralds together and fighting the Death Egg robot as Super Naruto. Mr. Bad's got it good. But this ain't his neighborhood he's taking over, no. Naruto smiles as he remembers his adventure on Little Planet and meeting Amy along with his new rival Metal Naruto. Now, he has made some new memories of his journey across the Angel Island and meeting Knuckles. It's amazing. To think that him going on all these adventures to these mysterious and unknown places from Sonic's world, he has made a whole lot of new friends, made some enemies, with Eggman being his arch nemesis, along with the boy in the mask, and even gained new powers. While he was sad he couldn't find Blaze anywhere, he was still happy as he made new memories of his journeys. With Eggman Nega finally defeated, he can now head on back home. After all, everyone is waiting for him. Time is now he can't find the power deep inside and make it happen. So what now Naruto? Tails asked curiously, before looking down to see dolphins jumping out of the water. We're going home now Tails. Naruto grins. Tails looked surprised before he smiled in excitement. You mean? Yup. Get ready kid, Naruto said as he turns to Tails, giving him a thumbs up. Because we're going to the Hidden Leaf Village. Sonic Boom, trouble keeps you running faster, Sonic Boom, save the planet from disaster, Sonic Boom, spinning through a world in motion, Sonic Boom, take it all the way. Naruto is seen running across the green hill as he destroyed every badnik that was in his way while also collecting any rings he see. He now appears in the labyrinth zone as he jumps from platform but fell into the water comically. Naruto is now on the beach of West Side Island. Tails appears as he waved at him but then kept sneezing as he turns into his fox form, making Naruto laugh. The ultimate ninja is in the Death Egg as he transforms into Super Naruto, charging at the Death Egg robot. Now on Little Planet, Metal Naruto has captured Amy, with her crying out to Naruto, as they flew away. Naruto ran after him as he sped through time and space on the various zones. Naruto and Knuckles are fighting each other in the Hidden Palace, with Tails looking on comically while facepalming. Naruto is out in space as he transforms into Hyper Naruto, glaring out at the readers as he took a stance. Instruments. The 7 Chaos Emeralds appear circling around in space. The Time Stones appear next as they circled above the Chaos Emeralds. The Master Emerald appears next as the Chaos Emeralds gathered around it. In a flash of light, they transformed into the Super Emeralds. Make your move, break it out. That's what life is all about, it's your adventure. Naruto is fighting against the Masked Boy as he tried to punch and kick him, only for them to get blocked or avoided. The Masked Boy then kicked Naruto in the stomach, making him slide back as he put his hand on it. Naruto glares at the Masked Boy before he charged at him with a battle cry, the Masked Boy doing the same. Through the dark to the light, it's a supersonic flight, gotta keep it going. Various animals are seen playing in a field of flowers as they cheered happily. The Flickies looked down at the field and danced in the air. The field of flowers resembled Naruto's grinning face. Sonic Boom, trouble keeps you running faster, Sonic Boom, save the planet from disaster, Sonic Boom, spinning through a world in motion, Sonic Boom, take it all the way. Sonic Boom. Blaze is seen walking along a path. She narrowed her eyes as she saw yet another town, which seems to raided by bandits, judging from the rising smoke. She immediately dashed off to the small town, her fists erupting in flames, getting ready for the battle ahead. Amy is seen driving her red car down a huge road, only for it to break down. She yells out angrily at this as she got out of it. She then summons a giant yellow hammer and slams it down on the hood. Doing this caused her car to start back as she cheers and got back in it. She drove again, heading towards her destination, to where Naruto is. Knuckles is lying down on top of the Master Emerald, a relaxed smile present on his face. He opens his eyes and looks up at the clouds before closing them once again. Naruto and Tails are still flying across the sea. They looked at each other with smiles on their faces. Tails saw something as he pointed at it, making Naruto turn back. He could see a continent straight ahead which made smile happily. He was almost home. They were almost home. Hidden Leaf Village. On Hokage Mountain, the Masked Boy is seen on top of the fort's head, looking down at the village. Is there a reason why you're here? He spoke to a figure in a red coat that appeared behind him. Hey now, is that any way to talk to your elders? The figure spoke in a man's voice. You, my elder, please, the masked boy said as he turned to the red coat figure. Now what is it? Just thought I dropped by to tell you that we found a new recruit. The man said. Oh yeah, which one is this? The masked boy asked. The man walked up to him and whispered in his mask-covered ear. He stepped away as the masked boy looked down. Quote. I see. You know, I'm planning to go to the other side of that place to see what his other is like. The man said as a portal appeared behind him. Wanna come with? The masked boy looked at the man before looking up at the sky to see the tornado flying towards the village. Whatever. He turns and enters the portal with the man following after him. In the Hidden Leaf Village, the third Hokage stood on the roof of the mansion, looking up at the Hokage mountain. He looks at each of the stone faces of his two predecessors, himself, and then his successor. He stopped and stared at the face of Minato. It has been weeks since Naruto's disappearance and they still haven't heard word from him yet, and it's starting to worry him. He's been hearing rumors going around about Naruto's disappearance. One rumor say that he ran away from home and got killed, another said he abandoned the village and went somewhere else. Hiruzen scoffed at the rumors. Not a single one of those rumors are true. Naruto would never run away from home nor would he abandon. Despite his sad childhood, he still loved the village very much and would do anything in his power to protect it. Plus his dream is to become Hokage someday just like how it was his parents' dream. If he knows Naruto by now, and he does, there's no doubt in his mind that Naruto is trying to find his home right now as we speak. Who knows? Wherever Naruto went, he probably found Blaze and is bringing her home right now. He turns to walk away but stopped as he heard something. Hiruzen blinked from the strange sound. It sounded like it came from the sky. He looks up at the sky and saw something flying. It sounded like a machine running on engine. Man. What? Hiruzen narrowed his eyes as he saw the flying object dive downwards to where he was. He also saw a figure waving his hands at him. As that. Hey. The figure yelled happily. Old man. Naruto. Hiruzen asked as the flying object got lower. His eyes lit up happily as he saw Naruto standing on what appears to be wings of the machine. He was also still waving his hands. Naruto. Music. Invincible theme, Sonic Runners. Old man. I'm home. Naruto yelled happily. He jumps in the pilot seat of the tornado and steered upwards, flying past the roof of the Hokage mansion, making the third Hokage smile happily as he gave off a chuckle. Naruto laughed happily as he stared down at everyone in the village as they looked up at him in shock, surprise and confusion. I'm home everyone. Naruto Uzumaki has returned to the Hidden Leaf Village. At Ichiraku Ramen, Iruka sat by himself eating some ramen. He looks next to him at the empty seat where Naruto would sit. He sighs sadly as he finished his food. It's been weeks. Long agonizing weeks since Naruto disappeared and there's still no word from him. What in the world could he be doing right? I'm home everyone. Naruto Uzumaki has returned to the Hidden Leaf Village. The sudden shout made Iruka spit his ramen out in comical shock. He quickly ran outside and looked around, seeing everyone look up in surprise. He looked up and his eyes widened in shock and happiness. Naruto. Hey, Iruka. Naruto yelled back as he waved at his former instructor. Iruka couldn't believe it. He just couldn't contain the joy and relief that appeared on his face. Naruto finally came back home. He laughed in joy with tears of relief falling from his eyes as he watched the strange machine Naruto was controlling fly past him. He quickly ran after him. Sasuke is seen on the roof of his home, eating a tomato while tossing a gold ring in his hand. He couldn't stop thinking about Naruto. It's been weeks since he disappeared and they still haven't heard word from him. What the heck was that idiot loser doing right now? Hey Sasuke. Sasuke blinked at the sudden shout of his name. Wait a sec. That voice, that oddly familiar voice. He turns his head once he heard the sound of engine and fans heading his way. His eyes widened as he saw a flying machine flew past him. He looks up and saw Naruto waving at him before he stuck his tongue out. Naruto. Sasuke narrowed his eyes before he chased after the strange machine Naruto was flying. Sakura was in her bedroom playing with a gold ring. She sighed to herself as she sat up from her bed. It's been weeks since you vanished, Naruto. Where are you? She asked. If she were honest, she actually missed that knuckleheaded idiot. She miss how he would often tease her about her crush on Sasuke and miss his constant yelling. She sighed once again as she stood up. She was about to leave but stopped when a sound reached her ears. What's that noise? She walks up to the window and opened it. Sakura screamed as she fell backwards when something flew past her window. She immediately got up and went to her window, looking at the flying machine. What in the world? Hey Sakura. Naruto stood up and waved at her from the flying machine before going back to control it, shocking Sakura. Naruto. She asked in a whisper before a happy smile appeared on her face. Naruto. Cha, I'm gonna clobber that idiot for worrying me. Inner Sakura yelled. Sakura saw Sasuke jumping from roof to roof, apparently following Naruto. She looks down and saw many people watching Naruto. She even saw Iruka-sensei running after Naruto. Hey, wait up. Sakura jumped out her window and joined the chase. Naruto shouted happily as he spun the tornado around and did some tricks. He glanced behind him, seeing Tails in the backseat but in his fox form. Hey Tails, you okay? I'm feeling good, Tails said, giving his big brother a thumbs up while holding onto a big brown backpack. Great. Remember the plan, right? Naruto asked. Of course. Tails nodded. Since he was in his fox form, the plan was for Tails to act like a plush doll in case anyone was nearby. Good. Naruto said. Well, welcome back home, Naruto. Hearing the voice, made Tails jump before he quickly acted like a doll. Naruto looked at the wing of his plane, a happy smile present on his face. Hey, long time no see, Kakashi-sensei. There on his plane, stood his sensei Kakashi Hatake, an eye smile present on his face. Yo. How've you been? Naruto asked. Worried sick about you, of course. Kakashi admitted. Where have you been? What exactly is this thing? He looks at Tails and blink in confusion. And, is that a doll? Naruto gave a big grin. First question, long story. I'll tell y'all later. Second, this is the tornado, my pride and joy. Thirdly, yes it is. He looks down and saw he was heading to the village gates, the spot of course being empty and clear. Hold on tight sensei, we're about to land. The tornado dived down to the clear path. Once he was close to the ground, Naruto pulled the tornado up as its wheels touched the ground. It then slowed down to a stop. Music end. Safe. Naruto cheered. He took off his seatbelt and reached behind him, unstrapping Tails' seatbelt. He put him in the backpack, winking at him as he winked back. He put the backpack on and jumped out of the tornado, stretching his limbs out while Kakashi landed next to his student. Man, it's good to be back. Naruto. Naruto turns his head and saw Iruka running towards him. Hiya Iruka, what's? You moron. Bonk. Ow, what the hell? Naruto kneeled down and held his head as a large bump appeared on his head. The hell was that for? What do you mean, the hell was that for? Iruka asked, a small vein on his head. Do you have any idea how worried everyone was about you? You haven't wrote a letter to anyone in weeks and we started to think something bad happened to you. Yeah, well, nothing happened to me. See, I'm fine, Naruto said, and the reason why I haven't wrote a letter yet is because I was busy doing something important. With what? What was so important that you haven't wrote to anyone? Like I told Kakashi, I'll tell you later. Naruto said. Tell me. Later. Now. Later. Naruto and Iruka glared at each other before tears welled up in their eyes. I miss you. They both cried out as they hugged each other. Kakashi meanwhile watched the whole exchange with a sweat drop running down his head. Naruto. It's really you. Naruto and Iruka stopped hugging each other as they turned around and saw Sasuke and Sakura running to them. Naruto smiled happily as he instantly ran at them and brought them in a group hug, surprising them. Sasuke. Sakura. I missed you guys too. Naruto exclaimed happily. He stopped when he realized he was hugging Sasuke. He let them go and rubbed his shirt. Okay. Dumb idea to hug Sasuke. I hope you didn't catch something while I was away. TCH. Shut up, you loser. Sasuke turned his head away while Naruto did the same thing. They both glanced at each other with small smirks present on their faces. Welcome back. He held his fist out. Good to be back, jerkface. Naruto brought his fist together with Sasuke, doing a fist bump. Sakura had tears well up in her eyes as she watched the interaction between. You idiot. You had us all scared and worried to death about you. Naruto rubbed her head softly, a soft grin present. Ah, relax. Iruka already explained it to me. It's still nice to remind you that people here have missed you. An old voice said. Nonetheless, it's good to have you back safe and sound, Naruto. Old man. Naruto quickly ran to him, giving him a hug which Hiruzen returned as well. Welcome home, Naruto. Hiruzen smiled softly as they released each other. Naruto nodded as he quickly wiped the tears that began to gather in his eyes. So where have you been this whole time, Naruto? Sakura asked. She then turns to the tornado. And what is that thing? Again, I'll tell everyone the whole story later. Naruto said before a sheepish smile was present on his face. But first, can you tell me a safe place where I can put my tornado? It's very important to me. That made everyone look at him then to the plane. Later. After taking the plane to Training Ground 7, everyone gathered up in the Hokage's office. The Hokage sat behind his desk, staring at Naruto with everyone else staring at him as well. So, where to start at? Naruto asked. From the very beginning when you disappeared. Don't leave anything out, Hiruzen said in a serious tone fit for a cage. Right. Naruto took a deep breath and told everyone in the room everything that happened. From when the masked boy attacked him and sent him off to South Island, all the way to his adventures. As he told them his journey, he also explained to them about the Chaos Emeralds, the Time Stones on Little Planet, the Master Emerald and the Badniks. He also explained to them about his Chaos powers, along with his super and hyper forms. For the story about West Side Island, he told them that he had a friend to help him out during his journey across there and on Angel Island. He even transformed into Dr. Eggman Nega to show everyone what he looked like. He also told them about the evil robot twins that Eggman had created based on his image, going even further as he transformed into each and every one of them. After my final battle with Dr. Nega out in space as Hyper Naruto and giving the Master Emerald back to Knuckles, I took the tornado and flew all the way here. Naruto finished his story as he took a deep breath and let it out. He looks around and sweat dropped as everyone stared wide-eyed at him. Hiruzen hummed as he closed his eyes, processing everything that Naruto told them. He opens his eyes and stared. Now, let me see if I got this right, Naruto. You say that Masked Boy sent you to an island that's not even located on our map, and you met a mad scientist, who not only tried to kidnap animals to place them inside these badniks as you call them, but to also search for the Chaos Emeralds, yes. Yes. Though I call the animals little critters to differentiate them from regular animals. Naruto replied as the old cage nods. The Chaos Emeralds, from what you told us, are 7 magical emeralds that has the ability to transform our thoughts into power. When all 7 are together, they also give you the power to access a super form. Yeah. This Dr. Eggman Nega wanted to use the power of those emeralds so he can power up this space station called the Death Egg, and use it to take over our world. So you traveled across the South Island to locate the emeralds first before he could, but there were only 6 of them there, correct? Correct. Your second journey then took you to the West Side Island, where you met your friend Miles Prower, who joined you on your quest to locate the emeralds, with the 7th emerald being there. Once you two gathered them all, you traveled out to space and went inside the Death Egg, where you fought a robotic clone of yourself called Robo Naruto and Dr. Eggman in his Death Egg robot. Using the power of the Chaos Emeralds, you transformed into Super Naruto, beat Dr. Eggman and blew up the Death Egg. Oh yeah, Naruto said with a smug grin. Eggman was definitely not expecting that. Hiruzen smirked a little before he continued. Your third journey took you to Little Planet, a satellite as you said, that appears above our planet. Yeah, it appears over Never Lake 1 month out of every year and vanish for the remaining 11 months. Naruto reminded everyone. Of course. Hiruzen nodded. But when you got there, Dr. Eggman chained it to a mountain and took over it. When you got there, you found Eggman and saw him searching for the Time Stones, 7 stones that allows someone to control time itself and let their wielder move through the passage of time. Naruto remained silent as he looked down, though he did nod his head. That's right. Hiruzen, Kakashi and Iruka noted the dead tone in Naruto's voice as well as seeing the expression on his face, which concerned Iruka, though Hiruzen and Kakashi already knew what that meant but didn't say anything. Sasuke raised a brow at Naruto's behavior, which was unlike Naruto, and Sakura looked worried. Naruto, she asked, are you okay? Oh, yeah, fine, just fine, Naruto said as he rubbed his head sheepishly. Just thought about something, that's all. Hiruzen stared at Naruto, watching as he glanced at the picture of his father on the wall before turning back to him. I see now, he'll have to talk to Naruto about that later. Anyway, after learning about the time stones and figured out Eggman's goal with them, you traveled back and forth through time using these time warp plates to destroy any of Eggman's factory that were in the past to create a good future for them. However, you met a girl named Amy Rose who followed you to Little Planet and got kidnapped by another robot twin that Dr. Eggman created. I believe this one was called Metal Naruto, am I right? Right. Once you collected the time stones, you beat Metal Naruto in a race, saving your friend in the process and went to battle with Eggman. But in the middle of your fight, the masked boy appeared again, got rid of Eggman, and challenged you to fight. Which is put on hold. Naruto said as he clenched his fists. He will most definitely pay that bastard back when he see him again. Right. After you and Amy left Little Planet, the chain that held it got destroyed and the time stones went back to their home, with Little Planet vanishing once again as the legend said. Big time. Now we come down to your final journey, which took place on Angel Island. As you and your friend Miles got there by your tornado, you saw the Death Egg, which crash-landed there after your previous battle with Eggman. You two then met a boy named Knuckles, who took the Chaos Emeralds from you and hid them inside the secret zones. From what I can understand, Eggman appeared on the island first and tricked the poor boy into thinking you were after the Master Emerald. Yup. Now this Master Emerald, you say that this thing is apparent to the Chaos Emeralds? Hiruzen asked curiously. Naruto nodded. The Master Emerald, in a short version, basically controls the power of the Chaos Emeralds. It also what makes Angel Island float in the sky. Yes, with Knuckles being the guardian of said emerald, which Eggman took advantage of so he can take the emerald to power up the Death Egg. Hiruzen said. To think that there's a boy, around the same age as Naruto, guardian such an extremely powerful relic by himself. It made him sad that the lad was forced to carry such a heavy burden and not experience life as a child. After you collected the Chaos Emerald, you found Knuckles leaving a hit in a chamber, which led to where the Master Emerald was at. Yeah, when me and Miles got there, the Master Emerald took the Chaos Emeralds away and transformed them into Super Emeralds. Naruto replied. Giving you further access to a form more powerful than your super form. Hiruzen finished. Once you and Knuckles met each other again, the both of you fought to a standstill only for Eggman to take the Master Emerald and went to the Death Egg, powering it up with the Emerald's power. Before you could make there, Eggman created another robot clone to keep you from heading to the Death Egg. Please. If Metal Naruto couldn't beat me, what made him think Mecha Naruto would? Naruto said, crossing his arms and turning his head to the side, a cocky smirk present. Iruka's sweat dropped from Naruto's attitude. Either he became more arrogant during his journey or that might be his ego talking. So after defeating this Mecha Naruto, you and Miles boarded the Death Egg before it could reach space. After going through the Death Egg's many traps, you both found Eggman and fought him out in space. While fighting his battle mech, he used the Master Emerald as a power source for this weapon. Hiruzen stated. After we destroyed it, Eggman tried to escape with the Master Emerald again but we stopped him. Naruto continued, crossing his arms. Without its power, the Death Egg was about to blow up so I sent Miles back to Earth. Here Naruto rolled his eyes. But of course, Eggman showed up and snatched the Master Emerald again, so I transformed into Hyper Naruto this time and fought him once again. And when you won the battle, you took the Master Emerald and brought it back to Angel Island where it began to float once again. Hiruzen continued from there. And here I am now talking to you and telling you this wild crazy story. Naruto finished. More than that, Kakashi said with a wide-eyed expression. That has gotta be the craziest and wildest story I've ever heard. He placed a hand under his chin. 3 mysterious unknown islands that's not on the map and a small planet that appears above a lake. That's just too crazy to be true. Sakura agreed. So wait, you mean you actually went through all that? Of course I did, Naruto said, looking offended in a comical way. Ain't no way I would make this up, besides I got the tornado as proof. But still Naruto, Iruka spoke up, an excited smile appearing on his face. You've been to places and found objects that we didn't even know existed. Matter of fact, I don't think anyone throughout the shinobi world knows about them. That's right. Hiruzen spoke, getting everyone's attention. Remember what I told you, Iruka, our world is a big mysterious place. He stood up from his seat and looked out the window. South Island, West Side Island, Angel Island, Little Planet, Chaos Emeralds, Time Stones, the Master Emerald. These are places and objects no one in this world knows about, let alone know that they exist. It's almost as if they appeared out of thin air. If someone with evil intentions, like Dr. Eggman, were to discover these emeralds, then this world would be in grave danger. Sasuke looked at the Hokage before looking down in thought. Honestly, this was all too much for his brain to handle. 7 emeralds that grants you unlimited power, 7 stones that makes someone travel through time, and a giant Chaos Emerald that controls the power of the Chaos Emeralds, meaning it's the most powerful relic that exists. He grit his teeth in jealousy. To think that Naruto would actually discover them and learn of their power, add to the fact that the Chaos Emeralds also allowed someone to transform into a super form. Then there was that kid Knuckles who's the guardian of this Master Emerald that can control the Chaos Emeralds and allow them to transform into Super Emeralds, giving the user a form more powerful than the super form the regular Emeralds grants. Adding to the fact that Naruto is the first and only person to experience that type of power. Not only that, they also helped him unlock a new type of power as Naruto called Chaos Powers, which allows him to manipulate chaos energy in various ways. It sounded like chakra, except way more powerful. Sasuke turns to Naruto. Do you still have them? He spoke for the first time, which caught everyone's attention. Have what? Naruto asked. The Chaos Emeralds. Do you have them now? Sasuke repeated the question. Naruto shook his head. Nope. Like I said, when all Chaos Emeralds come together in one place, they scatter and disappear all over again. After I changed back to my regular form, I felt the Super Emeralds change back into Chaos Emeralds and vanish. I get it. So that means the emeralds are out there somewhere. Sakura said as she nodded her head. Yup. You got it. Naruto said. Either that or they went back into the secret zone and the only to get there is through the warp rings. Sasuke wasn't all that happy with the answer but still accepted it. He will definitely have to be on the lookout for those warp rings. But no worries. Naruto grinned as he put his hands behind his head. Even though I already beat Egghead, I know that he might come back someday with some other scheme that involves the Chaos Emeralds. He smirks in confidence as he gives the old cage a thumbs up. When he does, I'll be ready for him along with any other bad guy out there. And I won't be alone. Me, Miles, Knuckles, Sasuke, Sakura and Kakashi-sensei will be there to stop them. With all of us together, the sky's the limit. That made everyone look surprised. Hiruzen however smiled proudly at Naruto with Kakashi eye smiling as well as he nodded too. Iruka looked somewhat worried but he did have a smile. Sakura actually smiled but it was nervous. Sasuke just closed his eyes, wearing a small smirk. You know, I guess this makes you a hero Naruto. Kakashi said. Huh, Naruto asked. Well, you risked your life to stop a madman from taking over the world and even saved a small planet. Kakashi explained, staring proudly at his student as he rubbed his head. To me, that would make you a hero. Just like the fourth Hokage. He's right. Iruka agreed as he chuckled. I guess that make me your biggest fan. Naruto chuckled as he blushed in embarrassment. Oh come on. You're making me blush. But then again, I am the world's ultimate ninja after all. Sakura smiled and shook her head before she noticed Naruto's backpack move slightly. She also saw something white sticking out. She walks up to it, a curious look on her face. Hey Naruto, I saw something move in your bag. What's that in there? Naruto did a comical spit take before his eyes widened as he felt Sakura open his bag. Sakura wait. Sakura gasped as her widened eyes were replaced by hearts. Oh my gosh. She reached into the bag and took out Tails, who had a smile frozen on his face. It's so adorable. She hugged Tails, rubbing her cheek against his. What the? Iruka's eyes widened in astonishment as he stared at the strange fox Sakura seems to be hugging. But what made him surprised was that the fox had two tails. The fox also seems to be wearing gloves and shoes. Iruka has to admit, this fox looked incredibly different from the foxes he's seen, even more different than the Nine-Tails fox. Is that a toy? Sasuke raised a brow at the doll. Yes, toy, definitely a toy. Naruto quickly answered, his eyes turned comical as he moved his arms up and down. Oh, Hiruzen asked, rising a brow at the supposed toy that Sakura seems to be hugging. Sasuke wore a deadpan expression on his face. Why do you have a toy with you? Oh, well Tails is, Naruto tried to explain. Tails, you actually named it? Sasuke asked, a small teasing smirk on his face. You're such a dork. No. You see, he's. The name fits perfectly, Sakura exclaimed as she hugged Tails close to her chest, which also hid the increasing blush on his cheeks. He looks so real and fluffy. Where did you find him Naruto? That made Naruto sweat nervously but he still had a smile on his face. Oh right, well, I found him on West Side Island. It didn't feel right for me to throw him away, so I kept him along for the ride. He's been really helpful to me. You mean you and Miles, right? Kakashi asked. Naruto flinched at the mistake he made. Yeah, that's what I meant. Hiruzen shook his head as he released a chuckle. Well anyway, I believe that's enough for one day. Now that Naruto has returned to us, I am proud to say that Squad 7 is back together again. You got that right, Naruto grinned. Also, thanks to Naruto, we are the only known village to know about the Chaos Emeralds and the man who's searching for them. Hiruzen spoke in his serious voice, which made everyone go serious as well. Squad 7, while you continue to do your regular missions, I'm going to give you a secret mission. This mission is to find the Chaos Emeralds before Dr. Eggman or anyone else does. It's very important that no one else in the shinobi world knows about the emeralds for we already know what they might do with them. That made everyone nod their heads. For now, take this time to celebrate Naruto's return. Sasuke and Sakura, you are dismissed for the day. Naruto and Kakashi please remain here for a little bit. There's still some stuff we must discuss, Hiruzen said, taking a quick glance at the doll. Sasuke and Sakura looked at each other in confusion before shrugging their shoulders. Sakura handed Naruto his doll back with a slight pout on her face. She still wanted to play with him. The two then left, leaving the room quiet. Now I believe it's time we talk about the elephant in the room. Hiruzen said with a knowing smirk. Wouldn't you agree Naruto? Naruto sweats nervously as his eyes darted around the room. Elephant. What elephant? There's no elephant. I don't see an elephant. Do you see one Kakashi? Iruka. Kakashi looked away but he had a knowing smile on his face. Iruka just sighed and shook his head. Naruto, I may be old but I'm still Hokage first and foremost. Hiruzen said in amusement. So I know for a fact that toy in your arms is not a toy. Naruto's face went comically blank before he sighed as he looked down at Tails. Tails, the jig's up. You can stop acting. Ah, did I mess up? Tails asked as Naruto put him down. Nah, they're shinobi. We're just that sharp. Naruto replied. He and Tails turned to everyone in the room and saw their reactions. Iruka's eyes widened in utter amazement and in somewhat alarm, Kakashi's lone eye widened in surprise, and Hiruzen had an awe look on his face. They were all staring at Tails, which made him nervous and shy. Hello everyone. Tails waved to them. I'm Miles Prower, but everyone calls me Tails. It's nice to meet you. Amazing. Hiruzen whispered in amazement as he stared at the twin-tail fox cub. He's met and seen a lot of animals before, but definitely not one like this. So you're the famous Miles in Naruto's story. That's right. Naruto laughed, rubbing Tails' head affectionately. This little guy has been helping me throughout my adventures. Heck, there were times when he even saved me. He's the best partner in crime I could ever ask for, and I'm proud to have him by my side. Naruto. Tails blushed at the compliment as he waved his arms up and down comically. See, come on. Don't say stuff like that. Why, it's the truth. After all, you're the world's smartest and greatest master engineer I know. Naruto smiles happily, which made Tails rub his head sheepishly, a trait he seemed to have gained from Naruto. Hiruzen, Kakashi and Iruka smiled at the scene before them. It would seem that during their time together, the two have formed a special brotherly bond. Kakashi coughed into his fist, bringing attention to himself. In any case, I want to thank you for keeping an eye on one of my precious students' Tails. He can be quite a handful at times. That made Tails giggle. You have no idea. Hey, I'm right here, Naruto said with a pout as he turns away, which made Tails laugh. Anyway, I'm Kakashi Hatake, Naruto's teacher. Kakashi introduced himself. Ah, Naruto told me about you. About all of you, Tails said happily as he used his twin tails to fly in front of him, which surprised the Jonin at the unique ability. You're Kakashi Hatake, the man who has a special eye that lets you copy a ninja's jutsu. He grabbed Kakashi's hand, shaking it up and down. It's so awesome to meet you. Likewise, Kakashi said, amazed at the cub's sudden enthusiasm and the unique ability of using his tails to fly. Tails then flew towards Iruka, surprising him. You're Iruka Yumino, Naruto's childhood teacher. Nice to meet you very much, sir. Sure, Tails. Iruka smiles at the fox cub. He reminded him so much of Naruto from when he was young. Nice to meet you as well. Tails then flew in front of Hiruzen's smiling face. And you're Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Hokage Achu. He covered his mouth using his hands as he sneezed, causing a poof of smoke to appear around him. The Hokage, Jonin and Chunin eyes widened comically. The reason for this is because as the smoke cleared, they saw Tails in his human form. He looked around the same age as Konohamaru and his friends except younger. But what shocked them the most was the fox ears and twin tails he had on his being. Hokage. Tails said, looking like a deer that's been caught by headlights. Miles, is that really you? Hiruzen asked as he helped the child up. Yes, it's me, Tails replied. Guess you're surprised, huh? More than you could think. Kakashi said. This is something you don't see every day. Iruka still had the same expression, but he did nod his head. I take it that this form you're in is your true form? Hiruzen asked curiously. Well, yeah, Tails answered, looking down. See, when I was a baby, a nice old lady named Anna was the one who took care of me. She told me she found me in this form on her front doorstep along with a letter, which she assumed was from my mom. But when I got older I noticed I was smarter than any ordinary kids as I love to invent and fix stuff. Miss Anna knew this, but she kept supporting me, telling me there's nothing wrong with doing something that you love, despite what the other children or grown-ups might say. Tails smiled at the happy memories he had with Miss Anna, but then a sad look appeared. But one night after I went to the bathroom, I suddenly sneezed. I found out about my fox form. I didn't want Miss Anna to know about it, but believe it or not, she told me she already knew about it. And despite that, she still took care of me and loved me as if I was her own grandson. He smiled sadly. But everyone else, they treated me like I was a monster. Iruka's eyes widened before they narrowed into a glare. His story reminded him too much of Naruto's own childhood. Hiruzen and Kakashi thought the same thing as their eyes turned into a glare. Naruto, however, had his hair cover his eyes. But if one were to take a closer look, they would see him, gripping his jacket. After Miss Anna died and I was all alone, that's when everyone showed their true colors. Tails said sadly as memories of his life among humans flashed through his mind. Everyone would call me names like monster, freak, among many others. They would also throw things at me and vandalize our home. There were also times when I worked on an invention, the kids would destroy it and make me watch. They even tried to kill me one night when I was asleep. That made Hiruzen's eyes widen in anger while Iruka gasped in absolute horror. Kakashi's lone eye narrowed further before he glanced at Naruto, hearing a growl coming from him. So I was chased out of town. I found myself drifting off into sea before finding an island. I called it Coco Island and I lived there for a while. Tails continued his story. I left Coco Island and began to explore the ocean. I found West Side Island along the way and lived there ever since. Of course, the critters didn't like me because of my forms, so they would often pick on me from time to time. He smiles happily as he turns to Naruto. That's when Naruto showed up on the island. Despite me being different, he still accepted me for who I am and let me come with him on his adventure. Since then, the two of us have always been together. He's the bestest best friend I could ever ask for. Tails said happily. Naruto gave a big grin. Ah, I love ya too, little buddy. That made the grown-ups in the room smile warmly. Despite Tails' horrible past, he still remained a gentle and sweet-nurtured little soul. Naruto must have saw himself in Tails' place and took him along because he didn't want him to feel lonely anymore. And from they were told, they could tell that Naruto is very protective of Tails. Like a big brother acts towards his younger brother. Well then, Tails, it's very nice to have you with us and I would like to welcome you to your new home. Hiruzen said. But since you're different from everyone else, we'll have to cover some rules. Oh okay. Tails nodded. Rule 1. If you ever turn back into your fox form, you must and always remain a doll to fool everyone else. Though my more experienced shinobi wouldn't fall for it, I will still remind them to act natural. And Naruto, since I know that you will be taking Tails with you wherever you go, you will have to hide him inside your backpack. Yes sir. Naruto and Tails saluted to him. Rule 2. Tails, if you're ever in your human form, you must have your extra features remain hidden. After all, the village isn't ready to meet someone such as yourself, mainly due to a tragedy that happened a long time ago. Tragedy? Tails asked curiously, tilting his head slightly. Hiruzen saw Naruto moving, making him glance at him, only to see him shake his head and mouthing, he doesn't know. He nodded slightly, turning back to Tails. Don't worry, it happened long before you were born. Hiruzen said. Now for hiding your features. Way ahead of ya, Naruto said, pulling out a cap and puts it on Tails' head, making his ears fold back. He then took out a white cloth and wrapped it around Tails' waist. It was long enough to cover his twin tails. Hua. Kakashi and Iruka sweat dropped at Naruto's disguise for Tails, if that's what he would call it. Naruto, that's a horrible disguise. Iruka deadpans. But it would work for now. Hiruzen sighed at Naruto's antics. Lastly, rule 3, and this is for you personally, Naruto. Since you will be taking Tails with you on your missions with your squad, he must and never come out of your bag unless something has happened to all of you and you find yourselves in a pickle. Yes, I understand. Naruto nodded as he spoke in his serious voice. That is all for today. You two may leave and join your friends. Hiruzen smiled softly. And Naruto? Naruto blinks before the Hokage threw something at Naruto, making him catch it out of reflex. It's great to have you back home. Naruto looked down at his hand and his eyes widened happily and in relief. It was his lucky charm. He hugged it close to his chest, tears beginning to well up in his eyes. He looks up at Hiruzen smiling softly as he nods his head. Good to be back. He looks down at Tails, wiping the tears away. Come on buddy, I'm gonna give ya the best grand tour of your life. Okay, Tails said happily as the two left the office. Naruto, he sure made some great friends while he left. Iruka said, smiling softly. He sure did, Kakashi said before he looked down thoughtfully. But Tails though, he certainly is quite different from the rest us. A human form with fox-like features and a unique fox form I've never seen before. Add to the fact that he has twin tails. That made Hiruzen narrow his eyes while Iruka's eyes widen. What exactly are you trying to, Kakashi? The Chunin asked, a disbelief expression written on his face as he realized what Kakashi was implying. Are you saying what I think you're saying? Depends. What do you think I'm saying? Kakashi asked, even though it was clear to Iruka what he was trying to say. But that's impossible, Iruka exclaimed. There's no way Tails could be. Do you even know how crazy or impossible that sounds? Believe me, after listening to Naruto's story, I can't think of anything else that's crazier. Kakashi answered honestly with a shrug of his shoulders. Iruka looked down, a shocked look present on his face. How could that even be possible? Tails is around my student's age. And the 9 tails has been sealed inside of Naruto this whole time. There's no way he could be. But the possibilities still stand to reason. A new voice interrupted from within the shadows, getting everyone's attention. Somehow, I knew you would be here as well. Danzo Shimura. Hiruzen spoke to the shadows in a deadly tone as he glared at the shadows. Out from the shadows appeared a frail, old man, who walked with a cane. He had black, shaggy hair, and his right eye was bandaged. He has an X-shaped scar on his chin. He wore a white shirt, with a black or dark gray robe over the top of it covering from his feet, to just over his right shoulder. The robe conceals his right arm. Hiruzen and Kakashi narrowed their eyes slightly at seeing the shinobi of darkness. Lord Danzo. Iruka said in a surprise. I had no idea you were in here. I assume you heard everything. Hiruzen asked. Every word. I've already sent word to the clan heads and the rest of the council for a meeting to discuss this matter. Danzo said as he turns to Iruka. That child is someone the likes of which this world has never seen before. The fox features his human form has in the fox form itself. No matter how much you deny it, the proof is there. Iruka. Miles Prower is the nine-tailed fox's child. Later. Hey old man, another bowl over here. Ha ha ha, comin' right up kid. Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura, who was holding tails, were at Ichiraku eating a bowl of ramen together with Naruto being at his seventh bowl. While they left the mansion, Tails suddenly sneezed again, turning back into his fox form again. Naruto quickly snatched Tails up and put him in his backpack, before anyone could come out and see him. When he left, he immediately ran around the village at supersonic speed, giving Tails a quick tour around the village. However, before he could finish, he ran into Sasuke and Sakura, which made him skid to a stop, startling Sakura slightly and making Sasuke loom surprise for a moment. Instead of clobbering him, Sakura immediately ran to him, taking Tails out of the backpack and hugged the life out him. She just couldn't help it to her. Tails is the most adorable doll she has ever seen. She was also jealous that he basically belonged to Naruto and that he wouldn't let her have him. The three of them, four counting Tails, left, with Naruto taking the lead. They stopped by Ichiraku's ramen joint. The moment Naruto entered, Ayame jumped over the counter and hugged the life out of him while Tsuki laughed in joy and hugged him as well. After eating final bowl, Naruto cried comical tears of joy. Oh old man, how I miss you and your ramen. Are you kidding me? I missed you the most kid. Tsuki laughed. Thanks to your spicy chili ramen recipe, business has been packed since you left. By the way, where have you been the whole time? Oh, just out saving the world from an evil scientist who wants to take over it. Naruto answered with a shrug. As that's so? Tsuki asked with a laugh as he walked back to the kitchen. Well, I hoped you kicked that scientist's butt for us. Believe me, I did. Naruto said. He turns to his teammates. So what's been going on with you guys since I left? Well, all we did was just the usual. Missions, training and wondering where you were. Sakura said, turning to Naruto and not seeing Tails blink his eyes. So about this secret zone you told us about earlier. What are they like? It's weird to be honest. Naruto answered. The secret zone are like these pocket dimensions with many shapes and colors in the sky, it's crazy. Sakura's eyes sparkled in awe. And you said the Chaos Emeralds are in that place. How did you even get them? Sasuke glanced at them, listening in on the conversation. He too wanted to know more about this secret zone. The secret zone makes you do all these challenges. Naruto replied. Once you beat them, you'll get a Chaos Emerald. But each secret zone has a different challenge. Sakura looked confused while Sasuke narrowed his eyes. Different how? The Uchiha asked, wanting to know more. Naruto looked up thoughtfully. Back on South Island, the secret zones there had me go through a rotating diamond maze and destroy these barriers that covered the Chaos Emeralds. I had to watch out for the flashing red balls there, otherwise I would get kicked out. West Side Island's secret zone had me and Miles run through a half-pipe tube while collecting the right amount of rings. We just had to watch out for the bombs. Little Planet's zone had me run around a track to destroy these UFOs within a time limit. Angel Island's zone had me and Miles run around this planet-like sphere to collect these blue spheres. If we touch the red ones we get kicked out. Whoa, those challenges sound tough. Sakura said with a wide-eye expression as she imagined what they would look like. Believe me, you have no idea. Naruto said, remembering the close calls he had in the secret zones. Sasuke grunted as he looked down in thought. So not only do you have to find a warp ring to get into the secret zone, you also had to do whatever challenge it makes you have to do in order to get a Chaos Emerald. But each challenge might be different from the last. If we're going to find these warp rings that leads to the secret zones, we need to be ready for whatever challenge they might have for us. We know what the challenges Naruto went through are like, but there's still a possibility that we might get something different, or at least similar. Sasuke's thoughts were interrupted at the sound of rings hitting the counter. He turns to see Naruto had just dropped a bunch of gold rings. Hey old man, keep the change. Naruto called out. He walks outside and noted the sun turned orange. Wow, the sun is starting to set already. Hee hee, days really do move fast when you have the most fun. No, it's because your story was just that long. Sakura deadpans at him. She smiles softly. Well anyway, I better head on home. She handed Tails back to Naruto. See you tomorrow guys. She grabbed Tails' cheek and rubbed her nose against his. And I'll see you tomorrow Tails. She walked away just in time to not see Tails' blushing face as his eyes turned into comical swirls. Hey Sasuke. Naruto turns to him, only to see him jumping from roof to roof, apparently heading. Oh whatever you jackass. He huffed and turns to walk away before he stops. He did a hand sign and summoned a clone next. He handed him Tails. Take Tails home and watch over him for a little. Got it. Clone Naruto said. Naruto turns to the still dazed Tails. There's someplace I need to go. I'll be back, Tails. Ah. Tails' brain was still on fire after Sakura's surprising stunt, which made the two Naruto to sweat drop. Well, later. Naruto turns and walks away, hands behind his head. He looks back and saw the clone had already left. He looks ahead and runs off, turning into a yellow blur. He ran for a couple of seconds before stopping at his first destination, the Hidden Leaf Cemetery. Naruto never thought he would admit this, but he was nervous. This will be the first time he will ever visit his parents' grave after finding out who they are. He swallowed his spit and enters the cemetery, looking at off the gravestones that were there. He was reading the names of the stones as he tried to find his parents. His eyes widened slightly in delight as he found their names, and just as he suspected, they were next to each other. He walks up to their graves and got on his knees, placing a bunch of yellow flowers and red roses on his dad and mom's graves respectively. Hey there, Mom, Dad, I'm back home, Naruto whispered softly to the gravestones that had his parents' names on them. He sat down in front of them. Sorry it took me a while to come visit. Though at the time, I didn't know who you two were. Well, except for Dad, since he's, the fourth Hokage and all that. And Mom, well, I learned about you from these 3 hedgehogs I know. Naruto looks down, a soft smile present on his face. A lot of things have happened to me. Back from when I was just kid to today. I made my very first friend, only to end up losing her one day. I haven't found her yet, but that doesn't mean I'm giving up. I'll find her and bring her here to come meet you. I have a feeling you guys would have loved to meet her. Memories of his childhood flashed through his mind, causing him to take out his lucky charm as he hugged it close to him. When she disappeared that day, it felt like my whole world was ripped to shreds. The old man sent some of his ninja out to look for her throughout the land of fire, only to find nothing. I was broken. I wasn't eating, sleeping, paying attention in class, nothing. I was just thinking about Blaze. I wanted my best friend back. And everybody in the village. They just didn't care. And if they would ever talk bad about her or take my lucky charm. Memories of him fighting, scratching and biting everyone, be it a citizen, shinobi or even children, flashed through his head. Anyway, let's just say the old man set me straight back then. Naruto chuckled. After that, I just kept training. I trained each and every day. That way I'll be strong enough to leave the village and find Blaze again. Then there was that day. The day he learned the truth about the 9 tails from Mizuki. I was shocked as hell to find out about that. But what took my shock further was when I met them. Sonic, Shadow and Silver. Naruto smiled happily as he recalls meeting them. Those 3 have been inside of me even before I was born. They also told me that they came from another world. He laughed. Yeah, I was shocked too. They told me some things about you guys. Told me how you risked your life to protect me when the 9 tails tried to kill. Dad, I wanted to punch the living shit out of you for making go through all that. He looks down, blushing slightly. But they told me that you believed in me. You believed that I would be the one to control the 9 tails power and make it my own. You trusted me with this responsibility, and I guess I'm happy to know that. Naruto looks down sadly. I wanted to talk to them some more. To learn more about them. But they had to go away. Before they left, they gave me something, said it was a late birthday present. He chuckled at that before he placed his hand on his heart. They left me their legacy. Pretty cool, right? Naruto grins happily. After I kicked Mizuki's butt, Iruka let me graduate. I joined a team with Sakura and her boyfriend Sasuke, and we have Kakashi as our instructor. We did a ton of missions before doing a C rank mission to Wave. But it got turned into A rank cause the client lied to us, but I didn't care. He was in danger and I couldn't ignore that, so I decided to finish it alone, but Kakashi and the others joined me. We learned that Wave was being taken over by some bastard named Gato, and he hired some goons to kill our client because he was trying to build a bridge. Memories of the Wave incident flashed through his mind. Zabuza and Haku then appeared, making Naruto smile sadly. But you know what? Those guys, Zabuza and Haku, they were okay. After Haku sacrificed himself to save Zabuza, Gato and his thugs suddenly came to the bridge and Zabuza took them all down, even Gato, despite the injuries he sustained because of that. He really was one way past cool demon. After Gato died, the people of Wave came together and drove them away. All in all, it was an awesome mission. Naruto then told his parents the adventures he had when the masked boy separated him from his squad. All in all, those were the greatest adventures I've ever been on in my life. I've made friends, enemies, and I keep getting stronger and stronger. Naruto chuckles. I can already tell my next adventure is going to start soon. He remained silent for a couple seconds as he looked up and stared at the bright orange sun, not paying to someone standing behind him. You know, back on Little Planet when I had the time stones. I was going to use them. I was going to travel back to that day, so that I could save you both. Ah, I see. Naruto jumped and gave a startled yell. He looks behind him and Hiruzen standing behind him. So that's why you had that look when I mentioned them. Old man. How long were you standing there and how much did you hear? Naruto asked nervously. Long enough and I heard much. Hiruzen took a seat next to Naruto, staring at the gravestones of Minato and Kushina. Now about what you said. Naruto stared at him before looking at his parents' grave. Yeah, when I heard about what the time stones were capable of, I thought to myself, this is it. With the time stones, I'll be able to travel to the day I was born. I'll save mom and dad. Hiruzen didn't say anything. He just continued to listen intently. When I gathered them all, I haven't been so happy and excited all my life. After I saved Amy and beat Eggman, I was going to use them to go back. Naruto continued. But I didn't. It's like, something in my heart kept me from doing it. Like it was telling me not to use them for something as selfish as that. In my head, I wanted to do it but my heart kept telling me no. So, I listened to my heart. Quote. I see. Hiruzen smiles softly. I'm very proud of you for listening to your heart, Naruto. Huh. Naruto blinked in surprise as he turns to Hiruzen. Listen, Naruto. Time travel, it's a very dangerous thing. When I was your age, Tobirama Sensei, the second Hokage, told us much about this forbidden ninjutsu art. Of course, the most important is that if one were to change the past, they would also change our future, which is why such a thing is forbidden. If you were to go back and save your parents, you would alter the course of history. But wait, isn't that supposed to be good? I mean, mom and dad will still be alive. Naruto said in confusion and in slight anger. Why would it be bad if his parents were alive? True, you mother and father would be alive if you were successful, which is good, but think about the cons. Hiruzen said seriously. The cons? Naruto asked as Hiruzen nodded. Think about your squad, your mission to the land of waves, the adventure you had and the friends you've made. All of these events happened because your parents died. If you had gone back and saved your parents and altered history, everything that happened here in our timeline won't happen there in the new timeline. That made Naruto's eyes widen. Do you know of the Uchiha massacre and about Sasuke being the only survivor? Hiruzen asked. Why, yes. Well, imagine a world where the Uchiha clan are extinct, meaning that Sasuke also died during that terrifying event. All of this happened while your parents were alive. Being reminded of Sasuke's corpse during his battle with Haku made Naruto tremble slightly. Or worse, Hiruzen said. You and Blaze, you two would have probably never met. Either she may have never been born, or she died. That was the final straw for Naruto as he stood up and glared at Hiruzen in pure fury, a vein pulsing out his forehead. No, Naruto yells angrily as he grit his teeth. You're wrong. You don't know that. What the hell was this old man talking about? Him not being on Squad 7. Not going to wave to save everyone and meet Haku and Zabuza. Not meeting Tails and the others. Sasuke dying along with his clan. Him and Blaze not meeting cause she may not have been born or because she died. And of all this might happen because his parents would be alive. Exactly. Hiruzen said calmly. I don't know and you don't know either. Which is exactly why time travel is forbidden and has no place in our world. If we were to change a certain event in our lives, like you going back to prevent your parents' fate, then we wouldn't know about the consequences our actions would cause, despite our intentions being good. But it's also to prevent those like Dr. Eggman from doing serious harm to our world. Naruto grit his teeth. He wanted to deny it. Refused to believe it. To believe that the old man didn't know what he was talking about. But no matter how much he wanted to, he knew he was right, and that made Naruto sit back down, his head down in sadness. He thought about Iruka, Konohamaru, Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura, Tails, Amy, Knuckles, and Blaze. Naruto sat down, a sad look on his face. We can save people from their terrible fate, give them a chance to start over, but at a cost. That's not fair. Hiruzen nodded his head sadly, placing a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Life is never fair. There's always gonna be a price to pay for one's own happiness. The two remained silent after that as they just looked at the gravestones. There's something I want to ask you. Naruto said, getting the Hokage's attention. Say I went back and saved them, would he looks at him? Would they have been happy? Hiruzen stared at the expression on Naruto's face. He looked desperate. Desperate to know the answer would be good or not. The old Hokage smiles softly at Naruto before rubbing his head. Naruto, I don't think you understand just how much your parents loves you. Hiruzen said with a hearty laugh. When they found out they were gonna have you, I have never seen Minato nor Kushina so excited in their lives, especially Kushina since she always wanted to have a big family. They wanted to do so many things with you as they watch you grow up to be an amazing shinobi like them. To hold you in their arms when you're scared or sad, encourage you whenever you fail at something, train you, celebrate your birthday, everything. Hiruzen smiles fondly as he remembers the times when Minato and Kushina were alive. All of that proves that your parents wanted to be in your life just as you wanted them to be in yours. But remember this, it's also a parent's job to protect their children from the dangers of the world. Would they be happy if you travel back in time to save them? Well, I don't know the answer to that. That made Naruto sighed. Of course. But I do know this. Naruto perks up as he looked at the happy smile Hiruzen showed. Your parents would be very happy and extremely proud to know how amazing you turned out to be without them being there for you, even if you traveled back to save them. Naruto's eyes widened. Hearing the honesty and the sincerity of the old man's tone made his heart swell up in joy. He felt the wind hit him in the back of his head while also sensing a presence behind him, making him slowly look back. A silent gasp escaped his lips. His father, Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, stood behind him. Next to him, stood a woman with long red hair and violet eyes. She wore a high-collared, sleeveless blouse under a long, loose-fitting dress with a wristband on her left wrist and standard shinobi sandals. Naruto noticed the both of them were transparent and wore smiles on their faces as they stared at him. Dad, Naruto whispered so low, the third couldn't hear him. Minato's smile widened, which made Naruto's eyes move to the red-haired woman. Mom. Kushina's smile widened as well. They looked at each other with smiles before turning back to their son, only for their smile to vanish when they saw he had stood up and was looking at them with widened eyes, that also had tears falling from them. They had sad looks on their faces as they watched the tears fall from his eyes. Kushina suddenly hugs him while Minato hugs them both, shocking Naruto slightly, but then closed his eyes softly. Despite them being transparent, the ultimate ninja could feel their warmth. It felt nice. He suddenly began to have visions of his parents being in his life. From teaching him how to walk as a baby, celebrating his birthdays, coming to his graduation. And most of all of them sitting at the table enjoying a nice dinner as they hugged each other. Naruto. He heard them whisper his name. They then vanished, causing Naruto to open his eyes with more tears falling. Mom, Dad. Naruto sobs as he fell to his knees. Don't go. He felt the old man wrap his arm around him, making him lean to him as he cries. Nearby, Kakashi and Iruka watched the interaction. Both wore sad looks on their faces as they stared at the crying Naruto. Sensei. Kushina, Kakashi thought as he looked down. I promise to keep a close watch on him. Naruto. Iruka thought sadly as he looks down. It's been ages since he's seen Naruto cry. And yet, despite his cocky, idiotic, egotistical nature, Iruka keeps forgetting one simple fact about Naruto: he still longs to have his parents with him. Nearby, Hinata Hyuga hid behind the entrance of the cemetery and watched as her crush broke down in tears. Seeing him like that broke her heart as she felt tears of her own swelling up in her eyes. Naruto. When she heard Naruto's yell echo throughout the village earlier, she was so happy and relieved that he finally came back home. Like everyone else, she was also shocked when she saw him flying that strange machine which made her fall after him, hidden from his view. Just now, she saw him picking up flowers and wondered where he was going till she saw he entered the cemetery. Hinata so desperately wanted to go over there and comfort Naruto. To hug and let him know that he wasn't alone anymore. But it looks like Lord Third beat her to it. She then left, but not before giving one last longing look to Naruto. Someday, I'll stand by you, Naruto. Meanwhile, with Blaze. Insert song. The Shining Road, English version. Instruments. Blaze was walking through a forest as she headed for the next town. She suddenly stops as she felt something wet slide down her cheek. She touched her cheek and saw it was a teardrop. Whym. She didn't know why, but her heart suddenly felt sad. Her heart haven't felt like this in a while. In fact, the only time her heart would hurt like this is because Naruto. The Fire Princess muttered. Whenever Naruto was sad, she would be sad with him but would also cheer him up with a hug. Which also explains why she has the sudden urge to want to hug Naruto. He was calling out to her. The world around us is so magical, but now it's been placed under a spell. Blaze wiped the tear away. Whatever was wrong with Naruto, he needed her. She has to hurry to the Leaf Village. Please wait a little more. I'm almost there. She looks down the road to see a town just ahead of her. She walks the path to the town. Hidden Leaf Village. My love, come with me and together we shall search to find a charm. We'll travel to the land of our dreams where forbidden dreams just may come true. Haven't been here in a while. Naruto spoke in a soft tone. He reached into his pocket and took out his lucky charm. This place hasn't changed one bit. Blaze. Right now, he was at his and Blaze's secret spot. The Hill of Friendship. The hill was covered in grass and had a lone tree sitting up top. There was also a log there which he was sitting on. After he calmed down, he left the cemetery and made one last stop. That stop was his and Blaze's childhood spot. Their precious hill of friendship. Naruto looks at the setting sun with a smile. That's another thing about this spot, it had the best view of the sunset. When we're alone tomorrow, we will sneak away and secretly meet. Up on top of a hill, where there are birds everywhere and we can be all alone. I wonder what you're doing now, Blaze. Naruto reached his hand out towards the sun, seeing young Blaze's smiling face appearing on it before she vanished. Are you looking up at the sunset too? Blaze was now in town as she watched many people walk past her. She was sitting on the roof of a building she was staying at. She saw so much smiling faces as she watched families going out together and children chasing each other. She then looks up at the sunset, seeing young Naruto's smiling face, making a soft smile appear as she reached her hand out to him before he vanished. I know someday, I'll hold your hand. While we sit alone in the morning mist. And the seal in our way, of our shining road will be broken. Are you looking at this sunset as well, Naruto? From our favorite spot? Blaze asked before setting her hand down. It truly is beautiful, isn't it? She slowly closed her eyes. She didn't know why, but she felt her hand suddenly get warm. And it wasn't her powers that was doing it. It was a special kind of warmth, one that's familiar to her. It was almost as if someone was holding the top of her hand in theirs and she immediately knew who it was. She opens her eyes and looks next to her, seeing a glowing transparent young Naruto with his eyes closed and a smile present. He opens them and looked her way, giving her a big happy smile. Naruto. Blaze, Naruto said with his eyes closed. He could feel he was holding her hand. No matter how far away we are, the bond that we share, it lets me know that you're okay. That you're right next to me. He opens his eyes and looked right next to him, to see a glowing transparent young Blaze as she looks at him with a smile. Am I right? Naruto asked the transparent young Blaze, causing her to smile wider as she nodded her head. Yes, you are, Naruto heard her say, but in an older voice, which made him smile a toothy grin. They turn back and looks at the sunset. Till the end of time. At the same time on both ends, the transparents disappear and neither of them didn't notice their lucky charms were glowing. Later. Tails. I'm back, Naruto said with a yawn as he entered his apartment. It was now dark outside with the moon rising and shining down on the village. Man, I didn't think I would fall asleep. He trailed his sentence off as he saw Tails was sleeping on the table with many tools and such around him. He also noticed a small bed that was next to his. The bed itself was in the shape of airplane. Naruto smiles softly as he picked Tails and laid him on the blow-up bed. Good night, Tails. And welcome to your new home. He whispered. He instantly changed into his pajamas, turned off the lights and fell asleep. Hours passed as both snored softly. However, red bubbly chakra suddenly came out from Naruto's stomach, which made him groan slightly. The red chakra moved across from Naruto and traveled from his bed to the smaller bed, heading for its target. The chakra touched Tails' hand, making him groan in confusion, as it soon began to travel across his whole body, leaving only his head exposed. The malicious chakra soon began to cover his face, just as Tails' eyes snapped open and he released a gasp. Tails gasped out in shock. He took steady breaths before he calmed down. He then looks up and blinked in confusion. Where am I? He asked. He looks around and saw he was in a hallway. The hallway itself looks like an old sewerage place. Is this a dream? Why would he be dreaming of being in a sewer of all places? Come. Tails jumped from the deep male voice that echoed throughout the hall he was in. Who said that? He asked fearfully as he looked around. Come. Tails trembled as the voice spoke again. Come to me. Are you down there? Tails asked in whispered as he stared at the dark hall. No response. Tails was nervous. He had no idea where he was at and a deep scary voice just told him to come meet him. With no other choice, he let out a moan of displeasure as he walks to the hall, holding one of his taila for comfort. After going through some passageways, he found himself in a large open area. What's this? Tails asked curiously as he looks around the open space, walking out to the middle of it before stopping. Is that a cage? In front of him was largest cage he has ever seen before. The bars of the cage are far enough apart for him to walk between them. The cage's doors are secured by a sheet of parchment with a Japanese letter on it. What's this cage for? Tails asked, scratching his head in confusion. He walks up to the cage, looking up at it in awe. Whoa, I wonder what's in here. He looks inside the darkness of the cage. He didn't know why, but something in his gut was telling him to run away and fast. Still, he wanted to know what was in there. So with a new resolve, Tails slowly enters the cage, going past the bars. Hello, is anyone in here? He bumped into something making step back. He raised his hands in front of him to try and feel what he bumped into, and what he felt was, as this, for a mouth. A deep breath of air was suddenly released, which blew Tails' hair back and also made him go stiff, his eyes widen in fear. He could feel and hear his heart beating his chest at an alarming rate. He slowly looks up, trembling all the way with a look of fear on his face. He let out a startled yell as he saw large glowing red eyes, with a slit pupil, staring at him. Well, you found me, boy. Tails couldn't scream. No matter how much he wanted to, he just couldn't scream. He couldn't even feel his legs, thereby he couldn't run away. He just continued to stare at the eyes with scared eyes as it looked at him. How nice to finally meet you face to face. Tails. The being said, shocking Tails that it knew his name. Yes, I can feel it. My chakra, my essence, my very blood flows through you. However, it is only half of it, which means the other must have come from a human female, one that you were born from. The being let out a growl of anger, making Tails tremble fearfully as the being seems to glare at him. Humans. They always find new ways for me to hate them even more than I already do. First, they forcibly sealed me inside of them multiple times. Now, somehow, someway, they stole a piece of me and experimented on it. Using it to create you. Tails' eyes widen in confusion. What's this being talking about? You have no idea how special you are, boy. The being said. You are the first of your very own species. A hybrid of something that's impossible to exist, yet here you are right in front of me. However, in a poof of smoke, Tails' human form was replaced by his fox form, shocking him. Wah. The fox boy looked at himself before looking up at the giant being. How did you do that? This form irritates me, the being said, ignoring Tails' question. It reminds me too much of those annoying rats. The being's entire body was then surrounded by a red sinister-looking aura. The sight of it made Tails step back as he could see the being's outline along with a row of razor-sharp teeth. I can also sense it. The power you inherited from me hasn't truly awakened yet. Well, we'll just have to fix both these problems, won't we? The being asked. Tails looked confused by that before he felt something touch his feet. He looks down and saw something red and bubbly, scaring him slightly. The red bubbles lifted Tails upward as the being watched it bring him closer to it. The being then stood in full height, making the transformed fox cub look up at it fearfully. The being chuckled as it watched its chakra consume Tails. Oh yes, I don't know nor do I care about what happened to your human mother. She may as well be dead. But you don't have to worry about that. It showed a grin as it saw Tails' eyes turn red with slit pupils and his teeth turned into fangs, just as the chakra covered him fully and his form begins to alter itself. Because I am here. And you, boy. Tails had his eyes closed tightly as he was in a whole lot of pain even though he didn't let out a scream or yell. He could feel something happening to his body as he heard bones cracking and his form stretching. He felt his gloves were ripped to shreds as his hands turned to claws and his shoes melted off with his feet turned into claws as well. He also felt himself getting a little taller and his twin tails stretching out. If he were to look at himself in a mirror, he would see black fur around his eyes and small fangs coming out his mouth. He weakly opened his newly colored eyes before they suddenly went wide as he got a clear view of what was behind the cage and who was talking to him. It was a giant fox. It has red-orange fur with black fur around its eyes that stretches to its ears, red irises with black slits for pupils and the upper body structure of a human, complete with opposable thumbs on its clawed hands. He also noticed the 9 long swiping tails that it had. Wah? Tails asked in a whisper as the giant fox brought its hands near him as though he was shielding him. You are my first legacy. The fox said as it brought its clawed hands together, smashing Tails between them, while also making a bright light appear. Reality. Tails woke up with a startled gasp. He looks around frantically, hoping everything was a dream. He sighed heavily in relief as he saw he was in Naruto's apartment. His eyes widen as he looked at his arms before sighing in relief, seeing he's human. He also noticed he was on his bed before looking next to him to see Naruto sleeping on his bed. He fell back on his bed and stared at the ceiling. What a scary dream, Tails said. He still remembered what the giant fox with 9 tails said to him. He sat up, looking a little worried. It was a dream, right? Just as he was about to fall back to sleep, his eyes suddenly felt itchy. He rubs them for a bit before he opened them back up. But unknown to him, his irises has turned red with his pupil becoming a slit. He fell back to his bed, just as his eyes returned to normal, before closing his eyes letting sleep consume him.